They. Welcome. Let's try that again. Welcome to your town meeting. The town clerk has informed me that we met the quorum of 50 people at last count. I declare the 2023 special town meeting is in session. To honor the work that our service members do for our country every day, our invocation will be read by Kirsten Avery. Kirsten is a Longmeadow resident originally from Michigan. She graduated from Michigan State University and the University of Connecticut. She is an Air Force captain at Barnes Air National Guard Base in Westfield, where she directs medical administration and operations for peace and wartime responses, both domestically and overseas. She has also served in Japan, the Philippines, South Korea, and Guam as an intelligence officer specializing in Air Force operations in the Pacific Theater. She is the recipient of the Joint Service Commendation Medal, Air and Space Commendation Medal, and the Global War on Terrorism Expeditionary Medal. She also serves our town as the Longmeadow Permanent Buildings Committee member and is the parent of 2 Center Elementary School students. Kirsten? Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, Rebecca. We've come together in civil assembly as a community in a tradition that is older than our Commonwealth itself. We come together to make decisions about our community. As we deliberate, let us advocate for our positions, but not at the expense of others. Let us remember there is an immense gap between saying I am right and saying I believe I am right, and that our neighbors with whom we disagree are good people with hopes and dreams as true and high as ours. And let us always remember that in the end, caring for each other in this community is of far greater importance than any difference we may have.
Thank you. Thanks. Thank you. Thank you, Kirsten. Now, we have 2 twin seniors, Benjamin and Julia Mahoney, to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Ben and Julia are both seniors at Longmeadow High School, with Ben in tennis and soccer, and Julia in lyrics in the National Honor Society. We will have a moment of silence afterward. For all those who are able or wish to do so, please rise.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I welcome you to our town meeting, our legislative body. To any first-time voters and to our visitors, I offer a particularly special welcome. Thank you for attending. It's a local legislature where we deliberate and vote on motions on articles in the agenda, also known as the warrant. Some general housekeeping announcements and rules of procedure. In the event of a fire alarm or other emergency, you'll notice that the exits are clearly marked. Should you need a hearing assistive device, inform a teller, somebody wearing a volunteer's lanyard, or someone at the clerk's desk, and we shall loan you one. All visitors will sit in their designated section, and children may sit with their parents or guardians. And as a reminder, if you need to stretch your legs, please feel free to do so. I'll ask volunteers in the back to check if there's anybody outside before we come to a vote. Should we need to hear from non-voters with expertise or specialized knowledge of a project before town meeting, I permit some non-voters to speak. This includes town department heads, directors, and the superintendent of schools, speaking on matters related to their departments. The following non-voters have received prior permission to speak: Matthew Whitmer, Frank Colicino, and Mike Nelson. The back of the warrant includes some of the rules and procedures that we will follow. Rules are from Massachusetts General Laws, the Town Charter, our bylaws, and a book called Town Meeting Time. To speak, wait for recognition for the moderator, and then state your name and address. All remarks are addressed to me, the moderator. You will note that some motions that are said orally may differ from what is printed in the warrant. As long as they differ only slightly, this is not a problem. I will alert you to if there is this case. We vote on motions, not articles. Some articles require a 2/3 vote, some require a 9/10. Motions to limit or extend debate require a 2/3 vote. And our bylaws require that if residents want to come to a vote, that they can only move to do so after at least 5 have spoken in favor and 5 have spoken against. And the presumption is that these are speakers from the floor, not those who ask questions or provide answers. Motions to reconsider or rescind are only in order if there is new information that has come to light during the meeting. Motions to amend should be in writing. We will have some motions that bundle articles together as a series to speed things up. I will explain how they work when they arise. You'll notice that there are 3 microphones in the center of the gymnasium, and those are for folks speaking from the floor. If you are an elected board member or official or a citizen petitioner, you'll be speaking at the microphone to my left. Citizens wishing to speak will line up at each microphone, and I'll alternate for each one. And you can see pretty clearly, green is in favor, yellow is for questions, red is for opposed. Preference shall be given to new speakers. If you are in line, remember to listen. You will be wise to remember that people often prefer hearing new information rather than repetition. Should you have questions for how to get something done, ask me. If you're asking questions, remember there's no cross-examination. If you have multiple questions, ask them all in one turn, and I'll keep track of them and direct them to who they go to. Comments from the center microphones are about 2 minutes. All remarks should be concise, on topic, and civil. We are a legislature, not a public forum. We're using electronic voting devices at this meeting, and I will explain the procedures. Everyone should keep their device on them at all time, whether speaking or sitting. If you have to leave to go use the restroom, stretch your legs, you must be wearing your lanyard. You may not leave the gymnasium without that lanyard. You may not tamper with the voting device. You may not give the voting device to anyone else. And when you're choosing to leave the high school, staff will direct you to place it in a proper receptacle. If anyone has trouble with their device, be sure to alert one of the staff members. Voting is simple. When I announce the vote is now open, you'll press 1 for yes, 2 for no. The other buttons, 3, 4, and 5, do nothing. The button with the paper airplane clears the screen. You will have 20 seconds from the moment I open the vote to when the vote is closed. If you try to vote before I open the vote, you will see a letter A or B. Once you have pressed 1 or 2, you'll see that that number is on the screen along with an OK. This means your vote has been received. If you forget to vote, you forgo the vote. We're going to test the devices soon. If you notice any problems, raise your hand immediately and go to one of the staff members. We're going to audit some clickers randomly. I chose 6 numbers from a random number generator. If you have a clicker numbered with this device, I'll ask that you come to the front and we'll do a test with this device. So if you are with clicker number 50, come to the front. 511, 125, 286, 75, and 590. Do we have any lucky winners here? Welcome. Come on to the front. Go to see Mike Barbieri. Any other folks with those numbers? Again, number 50, 511, 125, 286, 75, and 590. Ah, you've got one? Come on down. I'd like to say the price is right, but that's probably beyond most people's remembering. So what we're going to do is a demonstration vote. These don't count, obviously. Hopefully you'll see that by the questions that we have before you. What I'll ask you folks to do is you're going to record your vote. Hi, welcome. Come on down. You're going to show either the clerk or the assistant at the right. We're just checking to make sure that the vote, yeah, that it went through, okay? And you don't have to hold it up front now, but when I tell you, you'll do it. So with this demonstration vote, are you ready, Mike? So we're going to try with 3 questions just to get you familiar with using these devices. Thank you for doing this. Yep. You ready? So you'll see on the screen what is a sample thing to vote on. And you'll vote 1 for yes and 2 for no. All right. Brownie cupcakes are better than cookies and cream cupcakes. If you think that brownie cupcakes are better, press 1 for yes. If you disagree and you think that cookies and cream cupcakes are better, press 2. Real serious stuff here. So the vote is now open. So you're pressing your vote. Now check with Mike to make sure your vote. Yep. Okay. So now what's going to happen is Mike is going to take the screen off. No one is going to be able to see how you voted. We're going to check that the answers are correct. Are the answers correct? Will that show what the vote is? Okay, I will need to have that tilted toward me so that I can see it. Thank you. And so what the audit votes are doing now are checking with the system to make sure that the vote has been recorded accurately. What we do after every vote is clear the history. So the votes are not stored at all, they go away, and we're ready for the next motion. Were they accurate? Yes? Yes, yes, yes. Is one of these sample votes sufficient? You want to just move on from this? I think one will be sufficient. We've had one good. Yeah, thanks. We're going to skip the other 2 questions. Okay. So our folks, could you raise your hand if the votes were accurate? Thank you. We're now going to come to vote for real. Thank you. Thank you, folks. No. We're moving on. So now we are ready for Article 1. I invite Mr. Lacusa to the front to make a motion.
Article 1, I move the town that the vote, all right, we'll start over. I move that the town vote to transfer from available funds in the Treasury the sum of $14,654,22 for the purpose of paying bills to the prior year.
The motion has been made and seconded. What I'd like to repeat for everyone is what the motion that I heard was. I move that the town vote to transfer from available funds in the Treasury the sum of $14,654.22 for the purpose of paying prior year bills. This motion has been made and seconded. You may speak to it. Mr. Lacusa.
Okay, 9/10 vote is required. Obligations of the town from the prior fiscal year were discovered since the closing of fiscal year 2023 books in early September. As often happens, bills from the prior fiscal year unexpectedly arise after the close of the books of the preceding year. These invoices are for masonry repairs at Storrs Library, repairs to the Public Safety Communications Network, advertisement for open positions for the Health Department, and elevator inspections. This appropriation would allow the town to pay its obligations, and it is recommended.
And
Well,
we'll get that. Okay,
You will get
thank you.
that. Thank you.
I invite the Finance Committee Chair to the front. And state your name and that you're a Finance Committee. Yeah.
I'm Eric White, the Chair of the Finance Committee, and we recommend this article.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll come directly to a vote. As a reminder, this vote requires a 9/10 vote. All those in favor, press 1. All those opposed, press 2. The vote is now open. Is it open? It's not. Okay, I need to be able to see it on the screen. Yeah. Tell me at 5 seconds. Yes. Okay. Is it 5 seconds left? The vote is now closed. The tally is 529 yes, 27 no. The motion passes with a 9/10 vote. Article 2, Mr. Lacusa.
I move that the town vote to transfer from available funds in the Treasury the sum of $31,128.95 for the purpose of increasing the fiscal year 24 operating budget, repair and maintenance, fire equipment.
Motion's been made and seconded. You may speak to it.
Last month, the auxiliary power generator on Ladder 1 suffered a catastrophic failure while operating at a structure fire. The generator was evaluated and it was determined it needed to be replaced. The cost of the replacement was $11,431.42. This amount represents 25% of the department vehicle maintenance budget line. The budget assumptions exclude major failures in equipment and are primarily for minor repairs and preventative maintenance. Thus, without supplemental funding, this budget item will be exhausted very soon, and minor repairs and preventative maintenance will need to be deferred. The fire department has been awarded a significant grant from the Federal Assistance to Firefighters Grant, AFG program. This grant, in the amount of $151,148, will be used to replace the aging fire hose and firefighter protective clothing. This grant requires a 5% match in the amount of $7,197.53. This match would need to be taken from other already tight budget items. Thus, we are requesting additional funding to meet this match requirement. In the last 2 months, 2 of the 3 fire department thermal imaging cameras failed. Both of the imagers are 10 years old and are no longer supported for repair. These cameras are used to search for victims in smoke-filled environments. They are critical equipment. There's only 1 imager that is operational at this time. Normally, each of the 3 fire apparatuses are equipped with this capacity. Having more than 1 unit allows a building search to be conducted faster, thus increasing the degree of survivability of a victim who may be trapped. 1 unit will normally be available on the exterior building to evaluate fire conditions and used in a fire down scenario if a firefighter becomes trapped or lost in a burning building. These units are also used for searching for lost persons in the woods or other scenarios. The cost for 2 thermal imaging cameras is $12,500 or $6,250 each through a government purchasing program.
Thank you. The Finance Committee recommendation, please.
The Finance Committee recommends Article 2.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, we will come directly to a vote. The vote is now open. Press 1 for yes, press 2 for no. Five seconds left. The vote is now closed. With 571 yes, 19 no, the motion passes. Motion approved. Article 3, Mr. Lacusa.
I move that the town vote to transfer from the ambulance fund the sum of $37,500 for the purchase of a cardiac monitor.
Is there a second? You may speak to it.
This article is to support the purchase of a cardiac monitor for the ambulance service. This monitor will be used to equip Medic 2 with this vital equipment. This purchase was approved during the fiscal year 24 budget process by the Capital Planning Committee, Finance Committee, and the Select Board as part of the fiscal year 24 capital budget. The purchase is funded by the ambulance revenue account. Unfortunately, during the preparation of the annual town meeting warrant, this item was not listed in error. The purpose of this article is to formally approve the funding of this equipment. The current balance of the ambulance revenue fund account is $350,516.67.
Thank you. Finance Committee recommendation, please.
The Finance Committee recommends Article 3.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, we shall come directly to a vote. This requires a simple majority. The vote is now open. Press 1 for yes, press 2 for no. The vote is now closed. With 597 yes and 14 no, the motion is approved. Article 4.
I move that the town vote to transfer from available funds in the Treasury the sum of $37,500 for the police department's purchase of 7 mobile data terminals, MDTs, to replace existing police cruiser-mounted MDTs.
The motion's been made and seconded. You may speak to it.
The goal of purchasing 7 new mobile data terminals is to improve the efficiency and accuracy of the Long Meadow Police Department by replacing the current 7-year-old outdated units. An MDT is a rugged computer mounted inside the police cruiser with networked links to dispatch, state, and national databases. The newly purchased MDTs will have up-to-date capabilities, and enter and gather data with enhanced connectivity. The current MDTs are out of warranty and have shown signs of decline due to age and their harsh work environment. This has resulted in frequent repairs, which have become costly and time-consuming. When a computer is taken out of service, so too is the police cruiser to which it's assigned. Upgraded and reliable hardware will not only enhance the ICER safety and productivity, but it can also reduce liability through providing our officers accurate information in real time. This warrant article seeks $37,500 for the purchase of 7 new MDT to include the tablets, keyboards, associated hardware, and a 3-year warranty.
Finance Committee position?
The Finance Committee recommends this article.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, we shall come directly to a vote. The vote is now open. Press 1 for yes, press 2 for no. You have 20 seconds. Five seconds left. And the vote is now closed. With 569 yes, 53 no, the motion passes by a simple majority. We now come to Article 5, and I invite Jeffrey Roberts to come to the front. Matthew Whitmer will come as well, and at some point, Frank Colacino will come.
Could you put
You're
the
welcome
screens
to.
up now?
Yes. Chairs back here. You can have a seat. Don't speak yet.
Just a tense.
I'm not going to touch it. That's his deal. Thanks.
All right, so I'm welcoming Mr. Roberts to make the motion.
My name is Jeffrey Roberts. I live at 370 Inverness Lane. I move in terms of the article.
Is there a second? The motion has been made and seconded. I want to note that I have granted the petitioners 10 to 12 minutes for this presentation. First, Mr. Roberts will speak, then Mr. Whitmer, then Mr. Colacino. Following that, we will have a recommendation from the Planning Board, and then the Finance Committee, and then it will be open for the floor to discuss. Everyone clear?
Thank you.
Right.
Thank you, Ms. Moderator. The article tonight is to request approval for a change of zone from Residence A1 to Business for property on the corner of Redfern Drive and Williams Street, immediately adjacent to Long Meadow Shops. The property now is occupied by a former church. This requires a 2/3 vote. With me tonight is the property owner, Frank Colacino, who owns Colvest LLC, which owns the property and is formed for the sole purpose of owning this property. Also, the Colvest architect is Matthew Whitmer of Phase Zero Design in Simsbury, Connecticut. I think we all understand what the residential use in Long Meadow is. It's primarily single-family homes, the churches, which pay no taxes, and schools, which pay no taxes. This property could support perhaps 3 homes. The business use to which we would change this zone is all the uses you see in all the commercial properties in Long Meadow, and particularly Long Meadow Shops. The exception for the use planned by Colvest is not offices. It would be a specialty retail location with a restaurant. Prior to the town meeting tonight, this proposal was required to be presented to the Planning Board. At a hearing on September 6th, the Planning Board voted unanimously to recommend in favor of this zone change. This is not the end of the road for the development of this property because you're voting for a change in use. The build-out itself will be subject to a site and design review process before the Planning Board, in which all the details will be worked out. Mr. Whitmer will show you what Colvest wishes to do with the property, and based on the combined experience of Colvest and Mr. Whitmer, we feel confident that the design will essentially be worked out with the Planning Board, as you will see it. The question is, what does the town get out of this zone change? I think there are two things that are fairly obvious. One is more choices for retail and restaurants, And I haven't noticed that when new things have opened in town that people have been upset about it. That seems to us to be a good use for this property, since it's virtually in the business zone now. The other issue is real estate taxes. The town is constantly looking to increase the tax base. This is new growth. This would be new growth. And we estimate that between real estate taxes, personal property taxes on possessions of the tenants, and meals taxes, it could produce perhaps $250,000 in tax revenue. This is new tax revenue that you would not have to pay on your homes to raise that money. The town is always looking for more money. I'm not saying that in a pejorative way, but it's good to have, to make the best use of the properties we have, and we think this would be the best use. If you think about it, this would be equivalent to like a 10-home subdivision being built and paying taxes. That's the kind of taxes we're talking about. We expect that people will be concerned about traffic, as is always the case when there's a change. We think, based on our experience, that the traffic at this site will essentially be residents of Long Meadow, primarily residents of Long Meadow, who are already using the Long Meadow shops, the Big Y, the William Street shops, and they will be able to use these shops, and it will not be a significant imposition on the infrastructure. When the Big Y expanded, there was a concern about traffic, and it did not pan out. When the CVS expanded, there was a concern about traffic, and I don't think that panned out. And we think this will be no different. The other thing that the Colvest is going to try to do is work with the owner of Long Meadow Shops to allow the two parking areas to be combined. So pedestrians and cars can go back and forth over the entire shopping plaza without going on and off William Street and the Rotary there. The other thing I'll mention is that when CVS expanded in 2016, it agreed to give the town $250,000 to use towards road improvements, presumably being the William Street, Frank Smith Road, Redfern intersection and the environments. Frank Colicino and Colvest will also contribute $250,000 to the town. That is not what's being voted on right now. The payment will be made.
Please keep your remarks to the article.
Thank you. That payment will be made, and we hope you appreciate it. Finally, I'd like to close by saying that I think having this team of Colvest and Phase Zero Design to build out this property is a real benefit to Long Meadow. Mr. Colicino does not develop properties for sale. He develops them to keep them. He is actually moving to Long Meadow. I can't think of a better incentive to do a good job than to live here. Also, Phase Zero Design did the architectural work for the build-out of the CVS expansion. So he's very familiar with the site and design review process and what the planning board will require, and is prepared to deliver it. At this point, I'd like to introduce Mr. Whitmer.
Thank you. For the record, my name is Matt Whitmer. I reside at 12 Canaan Way in Simsbury, Connecticut. And thank you, moderator, for having me this evening. I'm going to walk you through a couple of ideas for what could be developed on the site, and I'm actually going to tailor my comments to the screens where you'll see some imagery come up. This is going to be very similar to the packet that you have or you picked up on your way in. The site itself is about 3 acres. You can see on the lower area of the site is William Street, and then of course Redfern Drive on the right side, the church building and the existing parking lot. If I could have the left side of the screen in their current configuration, on the right side is the property in question from tonight's article. You can see that really the site itself lends itself as a natural extension to what's happening with the Long Meadow Shops, with the restaurant and commercial mix. And you can see that this is actually a continuation that takes you to Redfern along William Street. Slide here. I am not advancing.
Is that it? Kevin, could you come up?
There we go. Okay. What you see on your screen now is option A. We have a couple of options to share. This first option consists of 3 retail buildings. They're all fairly small in size. You can see the parking area in front. These individual buildings are envisioned to be multi-tenant buildings, so they would have a number of small retail tenants. We would imagine this would be restaurant and retail. You can see the parking lot below. There is a single entrance off of William Street and also a right turn in, right turn out closer to the signalized intersection. There is no access from a vehicular standpoint from Redfern. The second option is a single building. Again, you can see that parking has not changed. We're envisioning some areas for restaurant use, some outdoor patio space, areas for benches, as well as bike racks and other pedestrian-friendly elements. I'm going to show you a couple of options of what these buildings may look like. This is what you should expect. Sorry?
3 minutes left.
Yes. Option A shows some of the retail spaces and how they're subdivided. These are single-story buildings made to look like 2-story buildings, so that upper level of windows that you see in these images are really there to let natural light into what's really a high bay space inside the building. This is the view from William Street of the 3-building option. This is the single building option, which you can see has been broken down into smaller tenant spaces. Again, you can see it's a brick, hardy plank, very New England style with New England traditional detailing, very reminiscent of what's in the Longmeadow shops next door. We would imagine that architectural style really impacting what's being proposed at this location as well. And this is the view of the building from William Street showing the single building rather. I think that concludes my portion of the presentation.
Mr. Colacino?
Good evening, thank you. If I appear to be talking fast, it's because I don't have a lot of time. My name is Frank Colacino. My business address is 1259 East Columbus Ave in Springfield, Mass. And I just want to, we've been very transparent in what we've wanted to do, and we've created a website to communicate with everybody in town, just to see what we're up to. We've provided a list of, what questions to ask. We tried to answer a lot of questions on our website. We've met with, not only on the website, but through social media, met with numerous people. I mean, a lot of people just talking about what we're going to do, how we're going to do it. And also, we've met with our 3 abutters that directly abut us. We've gone over, we've tried to meet with as many people as wanted to talk to us. And as I look out here, I know a lot of people in Longmeadow. Even though I don't live in Longmeadow, I'm not unfamiliar with Longmeadow. I used to live here, and I plan on moving back. So what I want to do is build a first-class, premier shopping plaza, specialty shops that Longmeadow deserves and in keeping with Longmeadow shops. I hope that we've done a good enough job to win your vote in favor of this zone change. So thank you very much for listening, and I do thank you all for coming out. Thank you.
Thank you. So now we'll hear first from the Planning Board and then from the Finance Committee. Following that, we'll have discussion through the floor. I recognize Cheryl Thibodeau, Planning Board Chair.
Hello, Cheryl Thibodeau, Planning Board Chair, 84 Ellington Street. The Planning Board does recommend Article 5. I would like to reiterate what Mr. Roberts mentioned, in that the vote tonight on Article 5 relates only to the zone change, and any specifics concerning the design of the building or the site will be the subject of a public hearing at a site and design review in front of the Planning Board at a later date.
Thank you. Finance Committee position?
Erica Wida, Chair of the Finance Committee. 162 Cambridge Circle. The Finance Committee unanimously voted to endorse this article. The additional revenue for the town and the money coming in to help repair or to improve the Williams, Redford, Frank Smith intersections were the reason for doing that.
Thank you. When we have the discussion, I want to remind you to keep your remarks to the motion on the article. Should anyone have any questions about what the proper scope of that is, I'll remind you. So I would invite folks to go to the microphones if you wish to speak. Note that there is a microphone for those who are in favor. It's marked green. Those who have a question, it's yellow. And those who are opposed, which is red. And again, if you have any questions about how to do something, please ask. So I'll start with to my right at the green microphone.
Good evening. My name is Gary Rome, 77 Salem Road, Longmeadow. And I'd like to speak in favor of this. We have elected officials on the planning board, which we elected by majority, and they did their homework, they did their due diligence, and they voted unanimously in favor. So I think it's only reasonable that we should also vote in favor of this project. They are the stewards of our community, and we entrust them, so they voted unanimously, so I think we are obligated to do the same.
Thank you. At the yellow microphone?
Hi, my name is Steve Wallman. I live on Pinewood Drive. When this warrant was approved and signed, I downloaded it from the town's website, and at that time, under Parcel 1 Easterly, it reads by Frank Smith Road. It does not read by Redfern Drive. Has that been changed already? And if not, wouldn't this warrant article have to be amended in order to read properly Redfern Drive?
I'll get the answer to your question in just a moment, sir. So the speaker is looking at an earlier draft of the warrant. The one that I am using and that town council is using are the official ones, the ones that were printed and are before you tonight. It's Frank Smith Road.
But that shouldn't be Frank Smith Road. It should be Redfern Drive.
I will ask
Frank Smith Road is across William Street. It's already residential and there are houses on it.
Thank you. Mr. Roberts? It is very germane. If you have the wrong language here, you don't get what you want. I just want you to know that we are working this out. If you bear with me, appreciate your patience. Is that what you mean, or did you mean?
Well, I think it's supposed to be Redfern. I think it's supposed to be Redfern, but at the town meeting.
You will have to amend this because you made a motion in terms of the article as printed. You did not read this out. If you meant to say Redfern, then we need to amend that. Do you understand that? I will tell you how, but I'm first going to consult with town council. Stay here for 1 minute. I'm going to ask. I agree. All right, I'm going to allow you to do an amendment, and I'll explain how to do that. Okay. All right. Thank you for your patience. I understand that the petitioners would like to amend the main motion. I would invite the petitioners to get a piece of paper and write out the amendment that you wish. While that is happening, we could either continue with discussion, and then we'll invite the petitioner to make that amendment in the interest of time. So the discussion is a little bit artificial here because we're assuming the general outlay of the land. If you'd still like to speak to that, you may. If you want to wait until the amendment is made, I leave it to you. What would you prefer? Do you want to speak?
Madam Speaker, yes, I would like to address the town.
Yes, please, name and address.
Sure, Armin Ray, 96 Shadyside Drive in Long Meadow. I speak in favor of this zoning change. Just a couple things that come to mind, and they did the last time as well. First, the added tax revenue. I've been both chair of the Finance Committee, I've been chair of the School Committee, and I can remember days when 200 or 300,000 meant the difference between 3 or 4 people being hired in town or doing pink slips. I've had the unfortunate job to have issued that to people in our town. That 300,000, 250,000 would have made a big difference in those budgeting cycles. It's also accretive to our tax base. So when Mr. Roberts was saying before, this is new revenue. So this gets added to our tax base. So perfect to add to the tax base. I've heard arguments against saying that it doesn't add enough. It's only 0.5% or it's only 0.4%. Even if it was $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 and not $200,000, that's still money the town doesn't have today that the town can put to good use tomorrow. So for that. Second one, I know I've heard a lot about traffic. And yes, traffic is a problem in town. But I have to say, if you look at what happened when the development went in at Dwight Road, I live on Shadyside, first street off of first street into town, used to back up all the time. The new traffic lights and motion have made it such that our street doesn't back up like it used to. So I can only envision good things happening. It can't get any worse in my eyes. As if we can put the plan together to work together to get the funding moving forward. And the last thing I would have to say is Mr. Colacino has been awesome through this process, at least to me. I know he's had some of my friends reach out to him. I know he sat down with me to explain his vision for the town and for the shops. And I just have to say that, you know, it felt really good to have his thing. I'm sorry. Thank you.
All right. At the yellow microphone, did you want to ask a question? Oh, okay. Allow that? Go ahead.
Larry Goldberg, 159 Redfern Drive. I have a public safety question with this going on. We were told a couple years ago they were going to put in some type of ADA compliant sidewalk or crosswalk, I mean, from Caroline to Redfern.
If I can just pause you right there. Keep the discussion focused on whether this article, this piece of land, once we get it settled, is to be rezoned, not about prior actions that were done.
Okay, well, my concern is that we already have a traffic flow that's high on Redfern. With this more than likely being passed with what I see here, my concern again comes to the other residents. It's hard to cross the street from Caroline for the kids in the morning. I'm just wondering when the town, as far as public safety, plans on putting up the crosswalk and the other safety items that were promised.
So a question about what the town will do to ensure pedestrian safety. I'll turn to Corinne Micey-Munns, the Assistant Town Manager, to address that question. Is it settled? Thank you.
Corinne Micey-Munns, Assistant Town Manager and Director of Planning. As Cheryl Thibodeau and the proponents of the article mentioned previously, this question is just about the rezone of the parcel. Any traffic considerations and studies that are relevant to the redevelopment of this parcel would come during site and design review. Any speculation about any potential increase of traffic or the change of circulation of traffic is speculation at this point. I cannot speak to future traffic plans for that intersection without first knowing what our traffic mitigation will need to be.
Thank you. Are you ready for an amendment? Are you ready for an amendment? You're not going to amend?
You want me to say why?
Sure. I'm going to invite the petitioner back to explain what has transpired in the interim time. Mr. Roberts.
The reference in the warrant is from the deed. We think the deed is correct. We think it's possible, this is an old deed, it's possible that Redfern was once called Frank Smith Road. In addition to that, the warrant article also makes specific reference to a plan, a parcel shown on a plan, which is specific in itself. And there should be no question about what that parcel is in reference to the plan. So we're going to go with the warrant the way it is.
Thank you. So, and we're going to try to do without clapping if we can. It just lengthens things. Appreciate your understanding. At the green microphone.
Josh Levine, 78 Farmington Avenue. Mr. Ray stole my thunder. I was going to say all that, so I get credit for that too. But what I wanted to point out, in addition to every dollar counts, this is one of our last few available spaces in town. When I first moved to town, and as a real estate attorney, I looked at our map. We cannot build. There's nowhere to go. It's all green space, which is good, but there's no way to increase our tax revenue, our tax base, unless we use the space we have. And if you look at a map, this is it. This is the best spot in town to build and to put in quality restaurant stores, to bring in tax revenue. And I fully support this, and I hope that you will join me in doing so. Thank you.
Thank you. At the yellow microphone.
Brett Lukasik, 38 Crescent Road. I would just like to, you kind of stole my thunder here as far as the traffic system, but I would like to know, I'm all for this, but I would like to know that there's some kind of plan to fix that intersection at Redfern and Williams. You know, I'd like to know a little more about that. I think that's only fair because it's been promised as part of the plan, you know, and it needs to be known.
And we have heard from the planning board and the assistant town manager that we can't address that until or unless we have a rezoning.
True, but we're voting on a zoning change, and it's kind of like we're assuming that's going to happen.
I will ask for our planning board chair to please describe the process that's used in this kind of site and design review, if you could.
So you've heard a lot tonight about the site and design review. As part of that process, the applicant will come before us and they'll bring forward an entire plan and ideas for what the site will look like, what they hope for it to look like, their plans for the parking lot. As part of that process, we will request a traffic study. Sometimes the applicant comes with one. And so at that time, it will be more appropriate to talk about traffic mitigation when we have a better idea of what the traffic actually looks like in the proposal.
Thank you. At the green microphone.
Brian Fitzgerald, 181 Eaton Road. I speak in favor of the motion. This site has been vacant for 8 years, and it's a natural extension of the Long Meadow shops where commercial development would be reasonable and appropriate for a lot of reasons stated here tonight. I think we should vote in favor of the motion and move this along to the planning board where a process of review on all the issues, site design, traffic, and so forth, can be made. Thank you.
Thank you. At the yellow microphone, you have a question or?
I'm James Reese. I live at 110 Overbrook Road. Lived in town for 50-odd years. And I have a few questions. First of all, without being too knowledgeable about the whole process, I would like to know what has dramatically changed in 2023 to change, that should change the town's attitude about this zoning change, which was rejected, as I understand it, by the town a few years ago. Second of all, when I hear that it's $250,000 which might be gained by the town coffers, I estimate that this is probably less than $10 a year for the tax bill of individual homeowners. Third of all, I've just come back from still the largest city in the United States, where walking the streets in Manhattan and other boroughs, I just don't see an improvement of economic activity. In fact, it's quite the contrary.
What is your question? Your second question?
Well, the question is, what is the town doing about? Why is the town doing this? The developer. If
Okay, I will.
If the town doesn't have,
please.
If the town
Please come to
doesn't
order.
have tenants.
Excuse me,
then
sir,
it'll
you
be
must
subject
stop
to-
talking and listen to me at this point. Thank you. What I heard was one question, was what has changed in 2023 with this proposal? I will now turn to the petitioner to address that question. Sir, Mr. Roberts, where are you?
I can only speak for my opinion and my experience about what happened in 2021. I think the explanation to the planning board by the developer was more thorough this time than it was last time. Also, there was virtually no publicity about this zone change before the fall town meeting in 2021. It required a 2/3 vote. It lost by 10 votes. I think that the reason there's a lot of people here now is because most people assumed it would pass 2 years ago and didn't bother going to the meeting. And that's what I think is the difference.
Now, the person at the red microphone.
My name is Kurt Friedman. I reside at 24 Ridge Road. As a professional engineer in 23 states, I have been professionally engaged in many property development projects over the last 3 decades. In all cases, the lack of an appropriate buffer zone has resulted in the greatest concerns. The rights of the abutters need to be preserved. If we were voting on a choice between a high-end residential condo facility and a shopping center, the residential facility would likely prevail. The artist's renderings do not show the view from either the front, side, or backyards of the abutters along Redfern, Williams, and Frank Smith roads. This project will likely hurt the property values of these abutters. Please support the rights of the abutters in Long Meadow. Please vote no on this article. Thank you.
Thank you. Please refrain from clapping. We'll turn to the person at the green microphone.
Betsy Bertuzzi, 15 Briarcliff Road. I want to speak in favor of the proposal, and I just want to address 2 of the main areas of criticism that many of us have heard over and over again that seem just very simple and no-brainers to me. One is that there's empty stores in the rest of other parts of the town. Anybody who's ever been in retail, which is not me, but anybody who's ever been in retail knows that to have stores and restaurants clustered together is much better for their business, and as users of that, it's much better for us too to be able to go to one area. It's more social, it's more convening. That is just not a valid complaint. And the other one is the traffic. It was brought up when the MGM proposal was here about the horrendous traffic. I don't think anybody of us noted when the Young Mansion was redone, it was, the traffic. I live off Long Meadow Street. There is no traffic from that. Every project that's ever done is talking about the traffic. If the traffic, I've lived here most of my 63 years, if there's more traffic now than there was when we were growing up, it's got more to do with the fact that even though there's half as many teenagers that go to this school, there are twice as many cars that come out of this school every afternoon. That's not up for a vote. That has nothing to do with the stores. Two of the schools that closed many, many years ago made it further away so that elementary school parents have to drive. I live on the other side of Longmeadow Street. It used to be in the Converse zone.
Come to a conclusion.
My kids would have walked there, but to go to Center School, it's further. There's lots of reasons why there's more cars in town.
Thank you.
It's never three more shops.
Thank you. At the red microphone. Sir?
I would just like to reemphasize, I think in opposition, without some clearer view of what is going to happen to the site, and it seems to me the developer must have had enough time in the past 3 years to garner up some potential tenants, real tenants, not people in the air. There will always in this area be a tenant of last resort, and that is Bay State Medical Center. And you only have to look in East Longmeadow to see the consequences of that. And you might have a Bay State Medical Center office building or outside facility. If the town were serious about the use of this land, I would say put low-rise single housing for elder persons, which wouldn't add students to the school.
Please keep your focus on that
But the
article.
developer should present some realistic use plan with the plan. After 3 years, this should be ready. To the best of my belief, this developer has purchased a house and lot, demolished the house more than a year ago, and has left
Sir,
a
please,
empty lot
sir, you
with
must,
a berm
sir.
on the spot.
As a reminder, if I direct you to come to order, you must come directly to order. Sir, you have been told twice to come to order. Please don't let me ask you again. Keep your focus on the article. Thank you.
And people should keep their focus on doubts, not the nirvana.
Thank you. Your time is up. I'm going to turn to the person at the green microphone.
Hello, my name is Barbara Stanley. I live on Cooley Drive in Longmeadow. I would just like to point out that, and I am in favor, obviously, of this motion. It hasn't been brought up yet, but it has been mentioned that we're always looking for more money for projects. And I'm sure all of us have an arm's length of projects that we would like done, whether it's on our street or our corner. But when we do look for money, we have very, very little income, tax income, from businesses in Longmeadow. And it wasn't long ago that we reached our maximum $25 per thousand on taxes for residential buildings, and that's set by the state. We can't change that. So I'm in favor of this because, number one, we would know where the money's coming from. We know these are reliable developers who are not interested in selling to other people. And I just wanted to point out that it is a stable form of tax income and not a direct burden on the homeowners, especially senior citizens such as myself.
Thank you. Is there any new discussion? Is there any new discussion? Does anyone else wish to speak? Go ahead.
Richard Foster, 29 Captain Road. I stand in favor of this motion. The couple of speakers, Josh got up and said it was hard following Armin. Well, you can imagine you're the 7th or 8th speaker now, so I'm just going to say ditto, 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 ditto. I endorse the project 100%, and I would like to call the question.
Well, you can't call the question after you've given a speech, sir. I'll welcome the person at the yellow microphone.
Hi, Darcy Durfee, 81 Ellington Street.
I just have a quick question. I don't know, I probably could know if I thought of it before now, but what's our annual operating budget? What's our total budget?
I will ask the town manager or the chief financial officer. Town manager? And is that your only question? Okay.
$70 million.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Hi, Stuart Blackwood, Woodside Drive, 103 Woodside Drive. So I'm still confused. After hearing everybody speak, I'm still left totally with no more information than I wanted before. So the main question, it seems like, is people think we need more money from commercial real estate or some sort of use of the land that's not zero tax, which it is now. We gain $250,000 is what I'm understanding from this proposed project per year, which would mean that there is, I think how you get taxes is based on gross revenue of a company. And I think how you get gross revenue, especially of non-online stores, is by foot traffic into the store. So is it possible, I'm not arguing either way, but I'm just saying, is it possible that you guys could share some of that analytic data that you all put in? I mean, you've developed these places before. How many people do we expect? How many more cars, roughly, as of 2023? What would it look like in terms of tax benefit, 250 versus 100 for 10 quarter-acre lot single-family homes? What would our benefits and, give us a little more data there. And yeah, I think that's about it. Just give us some more information on that in terms of what the numbers look like. Thank you.
Sure, and sir, just by way of clarification, the difficulty that we have is what we have heard tonight is discussion of what could be. Ultimately, what matters is the land residential or is it
right?
So
that's a very tricky situation,
yes,
as you can imagine, because I can tell you now 10 single-family homes on 0.25 acres, 4 people in each home, 40 people.
What I would do is ask for the Finance Committee to share a little bit more about how they came to their decision that this is a financially beneficial prospect.
Right.
And that's the best that I can offer based on
if only
all
one
the
human being walks into those stores and spends enough revenue to make $250,000 in taxes.
We've got your question. Thank you very much. And you can lower that to make it.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Erica Wida, Chair of Finance Committee. We endorsed this article because we used the estimates coming from the developers. So we didn't actually ask them how they came up with the development, but we definitely know it will be more than what we are getting now, which is almost none. And we know we will get additional funds to improve the intersection. So given that the land has sat there for 8 years with almost no revenue generation, this is definitely improvement, even if it doesn't meet the full potential that they have laid out.
Thank you. At the yellow microphone.
Hi, Sarah Titzo, 112 Longview Drive. I would like to call the vote. Make a motion to call the vote.
Before I get a second on that, before I do, if no one wishes to speak, we can come directly to a vote. And so there is somebody who wishes to speak, so now I will ask for a second. All right. So the way this works is we have to make a decision on whether we want to stop debate or continue debate. That vote takes a 2/3 majority to be approved. So the vote that we're taking now is you're going to vote yes if you want to stop debate. It's not voting on the article, not voting on the motion. You're voting on whether to stop debate. If you want to keep talking, vote no. So you're clear on what you're voting on? All right. The vote is now open on the motion to call the question. Press 1 to end debate. Press 2 to keep talking. You have 20 seconds. Five seconds left. I can't. Sorry. Ready? The vote is now closed. The motion to call the question was approved at 6:22 yes, 83 no. Did you have a question for me? Real quick. If nobody's there, willing. Yep. Thank you for that. And so now we are ready to come to a vote on the main motion. And I would invite our tellers in the back, our volunteers in the back, to make sure that if there's anybody in the cafeteria or the desks, to come into the gym at this point. So, this is the main motion on whether to rezone the land or not. You have 20 seconds in which to vote. The vote is now open. Press 1 for yes, press 2 for no. Five seconds left. The vote is now closed with 625 yes, 95 no. The motion is approved by a 2/3 majority. I invite those who are leaving to do so as quietly and as efficiently as you can, and to remember to drop off your lanyards with the clerk's desk. I'm going to pause briefly to allow for anybody who wishes to leave before we get to the next motion. Stampede. 2/3 majority. Oh, wait, I've got the other. And I again urge you to do so as quietly and as efficiently as possible. You're also welcome to stay and vote on the rest of the articles. There's some really interesting stuff there. Crosswalks. What's that? The swimming pool. I mean, lots of interesting stuff. Sewer jets. In a minute. If there are any volunteers, I ask that you go to assist the people who are trying to leave. The reason why is because the other person was standing to ask a question. Nobody was standing to make the to say anything opposed. Right. No. Yep. And that's why I appreciate that. Because if I had made a mistake, I would have corrected it. And so I do appreciate that you came, because people make mistakes. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Yep. Oh, yeah, no, when we had the issue about the land, are you kidding me? Mm-hmm. Yep. Okay. Excuse me, no, you may not leave her there. Thank you. Nice try. somebody did, police staff, could you go out and make sure that they got this instructions? Actually, the police chief will, you might, can you keep your eye on that? Actually tell the chief to stand in there. No one is to leave through either of these entrances. No, no, no. The only exits that you may use are at the back of the gym where I'm pointing. You may not exit the gym this way. Thank you. I'm going to get started soon. So, folks, if you're talking, please quiet down. Thank you. And I expect that as you leave, you shall do so silently, and we will get on with the rest of the business of the meeting. Thank you. Mr. Azar, are you here? Presentation is right there. Oh, thank you. All right, so name and address, good to go? All right, we're moving on to Article 6. I recognize Fred Azar.
Hi, my name is Fred Azar, 18 Essex Court, and I move for the town to vote on adding a blinking light at the crosswalk on Emerson Road as well as a sidewalk to improve pedestrian safety and to reduce any oncoming traffic that can incur with accidents.
Hold on one second. Yeah, that's what I thought too. Okay. The motion has been made and seconded. You may speak to it, Mr. Azar.
Thank you. As you can see from the images, which I'm going to try to put on the prompters now.
There's a presentation? Yep. It'll switch over in a moment. Thank you.
Yep. So to give you some history on Emerson Road, it's a very highly trafficked area based on the fact that there is the town dump at the end of the street, as well as a few landscaping commercial organizations that drive up and down the road. Also, Emerson Road is the main road where Emerson Manor resides to over 90 units, as well as over 150 over 62 residents in the town of Longmeadow, which this is their main road as well as crosswalk to go up and down to Laurel Street as well as down to the bird sanctuary, which is a very popular area for them to sightsee. As you can see from the images here, you will see children riding their bikes to school and a car avoiding them and an oncoming truck in the opposite direction that could obviously cause an accident. This is a main concern, and what we're here to vote on is adding a sidewalk where you see those children driving up the street to increase their safety. The next image is the actual crosswalk with no blinking light. We are here to vote to add the blinking light to increase visibility for some of these larger commercial vehicles going up in the morning and down in the afternoon, as well as on the weekends where a lot of people go to the town dump their belongings. It's a hill, it's a steep hill, there's a lot of curvature from the road and a lot of blind spots. So adding this blinking light will help the pedestrians on Emerson Manor as well as the children going to school across the street to the other sidewalk. This is my street, Essex Court, which was built in the mid-90s. As you can see, the crosswalk here, or the sidewalk here, comes to a stop. Speaking to our town engineer, it was actually supposed to go up the street to Emerson Manor, which it never did. So we are here to vote on adding that sidewalk to continue from Essex Court up to the entrance of Emerson Manor. The associated costs to add the sidewalk is roughly $53,000, as well as an additional 24 rapid flashing beacons if necessary. So the overall total cost of ownership in regards to adding the safety features on Emerson Road is roughly $70,000. I encourage everybody to vote yes to help our children and pedestrians to go up and down the street more safely.
Thank you. And if you want to answer any questions, you're welcome to sit there while we wait. I have advised the petitioner on the basis of town council's advice that this article itself and the motion under it will act as an advisory article. It is a non-binding article for various reasons. So this is more like a resolution to suggest to the select board that they take some action, and the petitioner has been informed of this before the meeting. Further discussion? The yellow microphone?
Mark Gold, Avondale Road. I was going to move to refer Article 6 to the Traffic and Roads Advisory Group.
Okay. The motion to refer to the traffic and, I missed the other word, forgive me?
Traffic and Roads Advisory Group.
Roads Advisory Group. Second. The motion has been made and seconded. You may speak to it.
The reason that I'm doing that is the Traffic and Roads Advisory Group is a relatively new group, but it does consist of our public safety officials who I think ought to make sure, and I'm not judging whether this is good, bad, or indifferent. It's, is it the right place? Certainly, we need to have a source of revenue. It's fine to say we have estimated costs, which I'm not even sure if those are right, but certainly we don't have a source of revenue to pay for it, so it's difficult to do something that we don't have money to pay for. I think you know, I hate to argue process, but the process is let's let our safety professionals in town look at this and make a judgment of where it's coming from, and if it's appropriate, they'll find the right spot for it and they'll do the right thing for it, and I'd rather have that happen than have a group of people hearing about it for the first time.
So to keep you aware, we are now discussing a motion to refer this issue to the Traffic and Roads Advisory Committee. That is what we are discussing at this point. Is there any further discussion on that? How do you feel about it? Oh, I'm sorry. Mr. Azar?
Yes, we had the town engineer come and scope the project out, who was the one that added the associated cost, and mentioned from his words as well as his associates that it was a safety precaution as well as an issue currently. So this project would obviously increase the safety of a lot of pedestrians, including the Emerson Manor folks, that this is their main crosswalk to get to Route 5. So, and as well as our children going to and from school.
Okay, so the issue is, do we refer this to the Traffic and Roads Advisory Committee? Any further discussion on whether to refer the article? At the red microphone.
Yes, Mary Beth Bergeron, 497 Inverness Lane. I would strongly urge you, since it's a resolution that we are ultimately maybe going to be voting on, and it's not impactful in terms of a vote tonight and as to where the funds are coming from, et cetera, that would be resolved, that the town would be looking into it. So I'm not sure what, and part of that process would be going to traffic and safety and engineering. So if we vote against this particular amendment, then it's going to end up there anyway by virtue of what the process is in the town. And since there is no question that Emerson Road is a highly trafficked street, the elders in our community use that a lot in terms of walking to church, in terms of walking up to the new bakery, and then add all of the children that are on the roads there. There is a lot of commercial vehicles on that road, and if there's anything that we can do to move this forward to protect both the children and the elders in this community, we should not be tabling this in this manner.
Excuse me, I want to clarify what this vote is. A motion to table is something entirely different. A motion to table has not been made. A motion to refer sends this article directly to the Traffic and Roads Advisory Committee. If there's questions on that, I'm happy to address those questions. Sir?
My name is Ben Mann, 72 Farmington Ave, Longmeadow. I don't think we have to send this to any committee. We all came here to vote. We got the clickers. I don't know why we have to send it to a committee. It's not a binding resolution. It's a resolution to think about doing it. So I don't know why we have to send it to a committee. You just keep it here. We can vote on it real quick.
Okay. Any further discussion?
Sarah Mamo, 55 Pleasant View Ave. I think I'm just asking you to re-clarify the same thing you're trying to, but if we vote yes, defer it, then it goes to that group. If we vote no, don't refer, defer, sorry.
Refer.
then do we get to vote, yes, we like this? Is that, like, if we say don't refer it, then we get to vote like we were going to do initially?
Yes, I'll explain that.
Okay.
Yes, you're on the right track. So a yes vote on the motion to refer to the Traffic and Roads Advisory Committee will send this directly to them. They will take this up. A no vote on the motion to refer to the Traffic and Roads Advisory Committee means we come back to the discussion of whether we want to have a resolution on this particular project. That discussion will end in a vote. If there's a yes vote, well, then town meeting has voted that. It doesn't go anywhere. If town meeting votes no, it still doesn't go anywhere. It doesn't go anywhere. It just disappears. Mr. Levine, are you wishing to speak?
I should know this because I helped write the policy, but I wanted to ask if, Lynn, if we thought that a yes vote on the main motion, not on the refer vote, would still go to the Traffic and Rules or Traffic and Road Committee.
Let me ask the town manager the answer to that.
It likely would, yes.
That's what I thought. So I think that,
Mr. Levine?
yes. So I guess this is a comment, neutral, but I just want to explain to everyone, this will have the same effect as a yes vote on the main motion. It's going to go to the Traffic and Road Committee because they are the group tasked with deciding what projects take priority in town, working with the DPW, LPD, and town manager. So I think that either way, if we vote yes, if you think it's a good project, whatever you vote yes on, it will end up with this committee. So I may have just confused everyone, but I think that the effect will be the same.
All right. You wishing to speak? Okay. So again, motion to refer to the Traffic and Roads Advisory Committee. See all the fun those folks are missing?
Madam Moderator,
Yes,
is,
sir.
based on what we've heard, is this motion moot?
No. That was easy for me. Any other questions? So, question? Yep, speaking.
Dave Marinelli, 9 Overbrook Lane. I'm speaking against referring this to the Traffic and Safety Committee because that's a neutral thing. We're just saying we're not deciding, we're going to let them decide, whereas if we vote no on this and yes on the main motion, that sends a message to the town that the voters deliberated and decided this sounded like a good project.
Please, thank you very much. Yes.
Jacob Bilski, 120 York Drive. I just wanted to ask if we vote, would it be possible to vote no on referring the article now, but then make a motion to refer it afterwards so we could vote to endorse it as a resolution, and then afterward.
Oh, let me stop you right there. Let me stop you right there.
Okay.
If you support the article, you can vote yes on the motion to refer or no on the motion to refer. Either way, it's a neutral action. If you wish to vote on the article as a resolution, okay, are you with me there? If you wish to vote yes on the article as a resolution, a non-binding resolution, then in order to do that, you would have to vote no on the motion to refer. Did that answer your question?
Yes, but is it possible to then refer the resolution to the traffic
No.
committee? Okay.
At the green mic?
Hi, I'm Larry Starr at E1 Williamsburg Drive. Boy, we have sure made this simple thing complicated. It may be a good idea, and it may not. We don't know yet. I think it probably is, but we need to refer it to the professionals to come back with real costs, We have one estimate from one person who did not do a cost study. They estimated this is what it might cost. And maybe it will cost that. Maybe it'll cost twice that. Maybe it'll cost 5 times that. Maybe this is the wrong way of solving the problem. We don't know that here. That's why we have experts. That's why we have this new committee to make that decision. So the right thing to do here is it's a good idea to study this, to decide if it should be done, and then to fund it if it needs to be funded. And so a vote yes now to refer it to that committee is the way we get it started. If all we do is say, yeah, it's a good idea, it doesn't go anywhere, okay, unless somebody wants to bring it. So let's tell the town to bring it to the committee, and then they'll bring it back to us at some point with a recommendation if they decide it's a good thing and which way to do it. And that's I think, the best solution right now.
Are we ready to come to a vote? All right. So this is a vote on the motion to refer to the Traffic and Roads Advisory Committee. The vote is now open. Vote 1 for yes, 2 for no, to send it to the Traffic and Roads Advisory Committee. Five seconds left. And this requires a simple majority. The vote is now closed. With 223 yes, 128 no, the motion is approved. This means that the article and the subject will go to the Traffic Advisory Committee. We shall now turn to Article 7.
I move that the town vote to transfer from available funds in the Treasury the sum of $45,250, the purpose of enhanced crosswalk safety in school zones, and to authorize the Traffic and Roads Advisory Group to review expenses and expenditures.
The motion's been made and seconded. You may speak to it.
There are 22 crossing guard posts in town. 17 of those locations have been identified for enlarged, double-sided crosswalk signs. This improvement is estimated at $34,000. All crossing guard posts would receive additional personal protective safety equipment, including electronic lighted handheld stop signs at $9,250 and lighted vests at $2,000. And this is recommended by the,
Yep.
We'll see what they say here.
Suspense. Finance Committee recommendation.
Finance Committee recommends this article.
Thank you. Any further discussion? The green microphone.
Yes, Tom Shea, 81 Green Meadow Drive. In early March, I requested double-sided crosswalk signs from the DPW and formalized this in writing on April 26th for a meeting of the predecessor to the TRAG group that was subsequently canceled. Double-sided crosswalks are simply adding a crosswalk sign to the left side of the street where there's already one on the right hand. You'll see this in most of the modern crosswalks in Long Meadow. The signs and equipment in this article are for the public safety of school children, parents, crosswalk guards, and anyone else using the crosswalks. From April until the draft warrant October 2nd, the only person I heard back from was the police community officer voicing her support. On October 2nd at the Select Board meeting, Police Chief Stock stated, "The idea of more signage, visibility with two-sided signs, and more visibility I am in favor of." So the town DPW, as mentioned, has chosen the locations, which are in the same location they are now, and estimated the costs. And by the way, this is free cash, so it's not going to change your taxes. You've already paid for this. So when approved tonight, it goes to the TRAG group, which is relatively new. And there are representatives of the DPW, the police department, and the town manager. Well, the DPW has already approved it. It's their numbers, their sites. The chief's in favor of it. So the TRAG meets quarterly, reports back to the select board, so likely January. We're going to procure the signs and then schedule the DPW or the town's new on-call DPW contractor to install them, which is likely in April.
Please come to a conclusion.
So a full year for a relatively simple public safety improvement. I encourage you to vote yes on this. It's for the public safety of the school children, and this impacts all of the town. One further item, real quick.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. You're at your time. Again, thank you. Ready to come to a vote? All those in favor, press 1 for yes, press 2 for no. You have 20 seconds in which to vote. The vote is now open. Five seconds left. And the vote is now closed with, I can't see, 296 to 25. The motion passes, majority affirmative vote. Article 8. Mr. Levine.
I move that the town vote to transfer from available funds in the Treasury the sum of $1,170,000 for the purpose of making repairs at the Bliss Park Reynolds Pool.
Motion's been made and seconded. You may speak to it.
AECom has completed its design work for Bliss Reynolds Pool. The work needed at Bliss is estimated at $1,170,000 and includes new electrical panels for the filter room, a new pool drainage connection, replacement of the pool pump, and addition of a second pump as a backup, cleaning and refurbishment of the sand filters, pool liner, and new ADA improvements. The estimate has conservative contingency amounts built in, so we are not faced with insufficient funds once we go out to bid. Work is expected to take place over the winter and spring and be completed in time for a summer opening, contingent on the availability of supplies, equipment, and labor. While repairs to the pool are necessary to allow for reopening, the pool cannot reopen if there is insufficient lifeguard staff. The lifeguard shortage has continued to be a problem and impacted the initial opening of Greenwood Pool last season.
Any further? Oh, I'm sorry. Finance Committee, please. Recommendation?
I think you can go ahead. Yeah. The Finance Committee does not recommend Article 8. On October 17th, we voted unanimously 6-0 against this article. Consistent with our charter and mission, we did not believe that this expenditure is the best fiscal interest of the town based on the following facts represented to the Finance Committee at this meeting. There's not a need. The Park and Rec Department advised us that the Greenwood Pool has sufficient capacity, has never turned away anyone due to lack of capacity. The data does not support future demand. Pool usage measured by the sale of household and individual pool passes has dropped 50% since 2018. Even if funded, the town cannot guarantee that the pool will be open. The town and other towns have experienced lifeguard shortages. Last year, the town could not fully staff Greenwood Pool and could not open the pool on time and had to restrict hours on other days. This means that the town could pay $1.2 million for a pool that the town may not be able to open. Repairing a pool that the town may never use would add another $40,000 to $60,000 in net fixed annual costs and further stretch the DPW resources, and that figure does not include the hiring of new lifeguards to staff a second pool. The town manager stated that there were other higher priorities and needs that could use this funding, and there are other less expensive alternatives, a water park, van service to Greenwood Pool, that exist and were discussed at that point. Based on these facts, the Finance Committee recommends against Article 8.
Thank you. Further discussion? I saw you first at the mic. At the yellow, yeah.
Lewis Robin, 942 Long Meadow Street. I have a motion to amend. I have it in writing if you would like it.
Please.
Okay. I move to amend Warrant 8 to require that an application be made to the Community Preservation Fund in an amount of no less than $100,000. The application must be made in good faith with sufficient information, but its denial by the Community Preservation Fund shall not result in the project not going forward if it is funded otherwise. If funded and fully expended prior to the Community Preservation Fund's review of the application, if the Community Preservation Fund approves the application, the approved amount shall be turned over to the town's general funds.
So I am not going to allow this motion. It is beyond the scope of the article. There's some reasons. We can't compel this kind of an action. It is something that if a reasonable voter read the warrant article and they could judge whether or not to come to town meeting based on what's in the article, they could do so. This expands the scope significantly. And so I will not accept this.
I respectfully disagree.
And my ruling is final. Thank you. At the green microphone.
Kurt Friedman, 24 Ridge Road. As a previous lifeguard, water safety instructor, and assistant swim coach, I support aquatics in Long Meadow. We do have the Greenwood Park pool. The Bliss pool had been used for many, many years, even when I was a child, and it provides a valuable resource for persons of all ages and abilities. Because of the distance between the pools, if a parent wants their child to ride their bicycle from one end of town to the other to get to Greenwood Park, the opportunity to swim at a Bliss pool is missed. And we've had this resource previously, and I know it's expensive, but the value of having a nice, healthy outdoor activity that has been enjoyed and utilized by all the town residents for so many years is something of value and should be maintained. Thank you. Please vote yes on this motion.
Thank you. At the, please refrain. Thank you. At the yellow microphone and then the red.
Cynthia Summer, 57 Farmington Avenue. I have a question. Does the town still run summer camp, day camp for the kids in the summer in Bliss Park? And if so, with all the really hot weather that we're having now due to climate change, what do those kids do to cool off?
I'll invite
what are the
town
options with no pool?
Thank you. I'll invite the town manager.
Day camp is run at Greenwood Park, and they use Greenwood Pool.
So are there any camps run at Bliss?
There are no camps run by Parks and Rec at Bliss Park.
Yes, sir. At the red microphone?
Yes. Lewis Robin, 942 Long Meadow Street. Frustratingly, I must oppose this request. As the Finance Committee has said, it's an expenditure that we cannot afford. We do have a Community Preservation Fund that has significant monies in it. They perhaps could fund at least a portion of it. The Community Preservation Fund is made up of some of our taxpayer money, but also taxpayer money through this Commonwealth, so that it's in essence free money. It would reduce the expense, although the Finance Committee might still oppose it. Until such further action to make it more affordable, I must oppose it. Thank you.
Thank you. At the green microphone?
Brian David Crawford, 5 Eunice Drive. The way I'm kind of hearing this conversation framed is that no one uses this pool, no one uses the passes anymore, but this is kind of a chicken and egg situation. We've had the pool pass for many years, and when they closed down Bliss Pool, we stopped using the pools in town as much. I honestly feel if we as a community put the investment back in our Parks and Rec Department facilities, things like Wolf Swamp Fields, like Bliss Pool, people will use it again. Otherwise, we risk the situation where we will not have town pools and then force the people in this town to have to get their own pool or join one of the country clubs. In reality, we need to make sure that we have facilities that are cheap and affordable for residents of this community who cannot afford to use facilities like the Country Clubs. Thank you.
Thank you. Please, folks, at the yellow microphone.
Steve Chandler, 60 Duxbury Lane. I know when we discussed the skate park at a previous town meeting, there was discussion of a study for needs of recreation and use of recreation space. Did this issue get looked at all in that, or did that study get completed, or did any?
So you're asking about whether this was part of any recreation
the need for two
study,
pools, to look
broadly
at the,
speaking?
Correct.
Okay, I will ask the town manager to address that question.
Great. Thank you for asking that. The study did conclude. We launched it publicly last week. It's available online. Bliss Park itself was included in that study. There was some minor mention of the pool, but it was not a full in-depth study of the pool like the estimate that we have in front of you tonight. We had a separate engineering firm provide that estimate for the mechanical needs and the drainage needs there.
Does that answer your question, sir? Okay, thank you. At the green mic?
Mark Gold, Avondale Road. I just want to reiterate what, or emphasize what the prior speaker said about, if you build it, we will come. If you have a second pool, it will be used, in my opinion. I think of the things that select board members hear about, it's when are you going to open Bliss Park Pool? We hear about that a lot. We hear also a lot about people who say, I want to let my child be able to ride their bicycle to school. To the pool, I'm sorry. The only pool we have is on the extreme south end of town, and it's really inconvenient for people to go there. So the fact that people say, well, we've got plenty of capacity. Frankly, if you go to the Greenwood Pool during camp time, there isn't a lot of capacity because the camps are using it, and that's how it was designed. The final thing I just want to say is that this is an asset that the town has. $1 million is a ton of money, and I understand that. But if we don't spend that, we're going to sit there, and next time we come back to it with a different group, it's going to be much higher because now we're going to have an even more wasted asset. Something's going to have to be done with this pool. It can't just sit there. I think the insurance companies call it an attractive nuisance kind of thing. We saw the issues that we had there with some of the other things that went on. I think that, to say it wouldn't open, and we might not be able to open it because we can't get enough lifeguard. Our Parks and Rec department has a lot of creative solutions, like open one pool 3 days a week, one pool 3 days a week, whatever it needs to be done. I think it's an asset the town has, the town ought to use. It's not raising your taxes. This is not money from new taxes. This is money that's, if you will, left over from last year. It's free cash. I'd urge everybody to vote to support this.
Thank you. At the yellow microphone.
Hello, my name is Ezra Kame, 134 Williamsburg Drive. My question here is, when was the engineering study completed and the estimate given based on the break-in incident at the beginning of the summer? My question is, does the scope of the project need to be expanded for additional security improvements or other capital improvements there?
I'll ask the town manager to address those questions.
Thank you. We built a very healthy contingency in upwards of 30%, just because of what we've seen with projects. The prices, by the time we go out to bid, have gone up so much that we've been unable to do some projects. So we learned from those lessons and have a very healthy contingency built in here. As to the exact date of when we received these quotes, I believe it was the end of August, early September, that we received this estimate.
Does that answer your question? Okay, thank you. At the yellow mic.
Hello, Klaus Hesselberg Thompson, 20 Hillcrest Avenue. I'm a little bit struggling here because I feel that, yes, we need the pool, and also it's a lot of money. I moved to town 10 years ago, and I have two boys, 12 and 15. And when we first moved here, we enjoyed so much being in Longmeadow, biking around to the various activities. When this park then closed down the pool area, we no longer bike to our pool. Now my concern is, if we do not keep this open, that people in that area, say northern part of Longmeadow, closer to 91, will no longer have access to swimming pool area. And in addition to that, my concern is that Bliss Park in general is deteriorating. We have tennis fields, tennis courts that are not being maintained. We have basketball court that is also very old, and we have a playground that is very old. My question is...
Thank you.
Thank you. That is, what does the town think about Bliss Park overall? I feel that we need to have a holistic view on that park and how we develop the park in general. So just my question is, what is the town's perspective on Bliss Park and the entertainment there for kids?
Thank you. Again, with the town manager, and let's fix this.
I don't care. It's okay. It's like stuck. It's okay. AV and town moderator. Thank you. So again, I would draw your attention to the completion of the active recreation conditions assessment. It's available on the town website. It did go through every single one of our active recreation area facilities, including Bliss Park as a whole. There's a rating given to each facility so that myself, the DPW, and the Parks and Recreation Department would know where maintenance needs need to be prioritized, where restoration work should be looked at, or where a full-blown renovation is needed. And there is a comprehensive summary there for Bliss Park as well. Yes, sir?
Armin Ray, 96 Shadyside Drive. I'd like to thank the Finance Committee for what they did to look at this. The question is, were there any alternatives looked at? And I heard something mentioned about a spray park earlier, and what the cost of a spray park might be versus a pool when the article was considered by the Select Board.
Select Board want to take that? Mr. Lacusa? Mr. Lacusa from the Select Board?
Yeah, that issue has never come before the Select Board of having a spray park. We've always just looked at a pool and repairs, and that's what we've been hearing from constituents. No one's asked for a spray park.
Thank you. Yes?
Yep, Jamie Hench, 40 Eastham Lane. Just a question for the Parks and Rec. Is this the #1 project on the Parks and Rec's list? And why not a baseball field, a softball field, a track? You name it. I can go down a list of different things. Is this our top priority from that study that we just did and spent a bunch of money on?
I'll ask the town manager to speak on behalf of the Parks.
Thank you. So internally, between Parks and Rec, DPW, and myself, obviously with the conclusion of the active recreation area conditions assessment, this is not the top priority for Parks and Recreation or DPW maintenance.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll come directly to a vote. On the main motion, this requires a simple majority. The vote is now open. All those in favor, press 1 for yes, press 2 for no. Five seconds left. And the vote is now closed. With 179 in favor, 179 in favor, 123 opposed. The motion is approved. Majority affirmative vote. Article 9. And I will direct the people who are leaving now, the same thing I directed before. Please do so quietly so that we may continue the business and listen to the volunteers who direct you to where you put your clicker device. Mr. Levine.
Can you tell them we have 2 pools? We do have 2 pools, everyone. No. I move that the town vote to transfer from available funds in the Treasury the sum of $220,000 for the purpose of making repairs at the Greenwood Park pool.
So the motion has been made and seconded. You may speak to it.
AECom has completed its design work for Greenwood Pool. The work needed at Greenwood is estimated at $220,000 and includes a new pool drainage connection, mechanical and electrical work, replacement of the pool pump, and adding a second to match the approach at Bliss, and cleaning and refurbishment of the sand filters. The estimate has a conservative contingency amount built in, so we are not faced with insufficient funds once we go out to bid. Work is expected to take place over the winter and spring and be completed in time for a summer opening, contingent on the availability of supplies, equipment, and labor. While repairs to the pool are necessary for safe and efficient operation, the pool cannot reopen if there is insufficient lifeguard staff. The lifeguard shortage has continued to be a problem and impacted the initial opening of Greenwood Pool last season.
Finance Committee recommendation, please.
Finance Committee recommends Article 9.
Thank you. Further discussion?
942 Long Meadow Street. I have a question for either the Finance Committee or the Parks and Rec. Did anyone make an application or discuss with the Community Preservation Fund their funding a portion or all of this request, and if not, why?
Thank you. Town Manager, Lynn Simmons.
It's our understanding that this is not an eligible expense. It's been considered maintenance.
Thank you. Further discussion?
Kurt Friedman, 24 Ridge Road. I support aquatic programs in Long Meadow. Besides the activity of swimming and the fundamental skill set, which is essentially mandatory, most of the world's religions talk about the need to teach your child how to swim. It's a fundamental responsibility of any parent. In addition to swimming, if a person knows how to swim, then they're going to be open to other forms of recreation like boating, sailing, water skiing. It's a fundamental skill set that every child and adult needs to possess. Please support this proposal. Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no further discussion, we'll come directly to a vote. The vote is now open. You have 20 seconds in which to vote. Press 1 for yes, press 2 for no. Five seconds left. And the vote is now closed. With 181 yes, 13 no, the motion is approved, majority affirmative vote. Article 10.
I move that the town vote to transfer from available funds in the Treasury the sum of $200,000 for the purpose of increasing the fiscal year 2024 operating budget traffic streetlight account.
Motion's been made and seconded. You may speak to it.
The town purchased and converted the streetlights to LED in 2020. The town also is engaged in 2 long-term net metering agreements to purchase financial credits generated from solar photovoltaic systems. Those financial credits are applied monthly by Eversource to accounts identified by the town which represent the highest energy use and cost. Among the accounts which financial credits were allocated included the streetlights accounts. With the implementation of the streetlight conversion program to highly efficient LED technology, the electricity consumption of the streetlights realized a significant usage reduction. As a result, the financial credits from net metering applied by Eversource to the streetlights were significantly greater than the actual monthly costs, thereby creating a significant credit balance on the streetlight accounts. While the town is working to reallocate future net metering credits to other accounts and capture the full value of the savings on a monthly basis, the full value of the historical savings anticipated by the net metering arrangement is not currently being fully realized in the town budget. This transfer will cover the deficit in the DPW fiscal year 2024 budget for streetlights.
Finance Committee recommendation, please.
Finance Committee recommends Article 10.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll come directly to a vote. This requires a simple majority. The vote is now open. Press 1 for yes, press 2 for no. Five seconds left. The vote is now closed. The motion passes with 154 to 6. 154 yes to 6 no. Majority affirmative vote. Article 11.
I move that the town vote to transfer from available funds in the Treasury the sum of $86,000 for the purpose of increasing the fiscal year 2024 operating budget, sanitation, recycling, recycling disposal fees.
Motion's been made and seconded. You may speak to it.
The town's dual stream recycling program participates in a net revenue or cost share for processing recycling. When the average market value is less than the cost of processing, then the town pays to recycle. At the time of fiscal year 24 budget preparation, the town was just entering to charge sharing. Projections have continued to trend that recycling will need to be funded for processing.
Finance Committee recommendation, please.
Finance Committee recommends Article 11.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll come directly to a vote. This requires a simple majority. The vote is now open. Press 1 for yes, press 2 for no. Five seconds left. The vote is now closed. With 144 yes, 3 no, the motion passes. Majority affirmative vote. Article 12.
I move that the town vote to transfer from available funds in the Treasury the sum of $323,500 and from water retained earnings the sum of $161,750 and from sewer retained earnings the sum of $161,750 for the purpose of purchasing 2 new trucks for the DPW.
Motion's been made and seconded. You may speak to it.
This money will cover the cost of replacing 2 trucks for the DPW in kind. The anticipated useful life of a dump truck this size is between 10 and 12 years, and these 2 trucks were purchased in 2002 and 2003. Neither truck will pass state inspection as the body, undercarriage, and frame have excessive rot. Repairing the vehicles is not an option, and these trucks are vital for all DPW operations.
Finance Committee recommendation, please.
Finance Committee recommends Article 12.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll come directly to a vote. The vote is now open. Press 1 for yes, press 2 for no. This requires a simple majority. Five seconds left. The vote is now closed. With 139 yes, 10 no, the motion passes. Majority affirmative vote. Article 13.
I move that the town vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $7,000 for the purpose of purchasing permitting software for the town clerk's office.
Motion's been made and seconded. You may speak to it.
The town clerk's office is in need of a software system capable of processing and tracking the many permits and licenses managed and issued by the department. Currently, the clerk's office uses an access database for tracking dog licenses. The database is no longer being supported and does not have all the capabilities necessary for the efficient administration of licensing and permitting. A new permitting program will enable the department to track multiple licenses and permits and prepare reports. The transfer amount covers the cost of the implementation and the first-year support fees. Moving forward, the annual support cost will be built into the operating budget.
Thank you. Finance Committee recommendation, please.
Finance Committee recommends this article.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll come directly to a vote. The vote is now open. Press 1 for yes, press 2 for no. And the vote is now closed. With 137 yes, 8 no, the motion passes with a majority affirmative vote. Okay. We shall now come to a consent agenda. Mr. Hemavati.
I move to approve article numbers 14, 15, and 16 as printed in the warrant.
So the motion has been made and seconded. In a consent agenda, we move multiple articles together to speed things along. So if anyone wishes to discuss articles 14, 15, or 16, call out hold when I say the number. 14, 15, 16. Since none of those were held, will come directly to a vote on all three. The vote is now open. Press 1 for yes, press 2 for no. Five seconds left. The vote is now closed. With 129 to 6, the motion is passes by majority affirmative vote. Now we shall come to Article 17. But before we do, I see somebody at the yellow microphone. Hold on one second. Yes, sir?
I guess I'd like to make a motion that we take items Articles 17 through 24 as a consent agenda, all of which have been recommended by the Finance Committee.
All right, hold on a second. Okay. To clarify what the motion is to take Articles 17 through 24 and to approve them in total. If the motion to have this as a consent agenda, we have to use the highest threshold that is in any one of these articles. So the motion to approve must take 2/3 majority to approve all of these as a consent agenda. So we will come, I will say the names of the numbers. If anybody, oh wait, first of all, did we get a second for that? Yes, we did. Okay, let me just make a note of that. Second. Consent for 17 to 24. If you'd like to consider any one of these separately, then call out hold when I call that article number. 17, 18, 19. 19 is held. 20. 20 is held. 21. 22. 22 is held. 23. 23 is held. 24. 24 is part of the motion. So we are voting on 17, 18, 21, and 24. 17, 18, 21, and 24. Since none of those articles require a 2/3 majority, this requires only a simple majority to approve 17, 18, 21, and 24 together. The vote is now open. The vote is now closed. With 128 yes, 2 no, the consent agenda to approve 17, 18, 21, and 24 has been approved by majority affirmative vote. Give me 1 second to get my papers in order. All right, 22. All right, you ready?
Yes.
We're getting to Article 19 then.
I move that the town vote to authorize the treasurer to borrow the sum of $1,465,000 for the purpose of sewer main improvement work in preparation for the L project. And to meet this appropriation, the treasurer, with the approval of the select board, is authorized to borrow said amount under and pursuant to General Laws, Chapter 44, Sections 7 and 8, or pursuant to any other enabling authority, and to issue bonds or notes of the town, and to be repaid in first instance from sewer system charges.
Motion's been made and seconded. You may speak to it. I'm sorry, water, from what charges, did you say? Did you say sewer system charges?
Sewer system charges.
Okay, that's what I heard. 19, yep. Go ahead.
And Madam Moderator, I believe we have a previously approved presenter, Mr. Mike Nelson, here to speak to this article.
Okay, Mr. Nelson? Thanks for your flexibility then. I have previously given Mr. Nelson about 8 minutes to speak on this. What's that?
It covers 19 and 20.
Well,
I'll just...
do your best.
Mike Nelson, 2 Worcester Square, Boston. I work for Fuss &
There's a
O'Neill,
presentation.
who is the design consultant for water and sewer for the town. Thank you for having me tonight. Good evening to you, the most civically engaged. I have a short presentation to give you the background, the why, and the how and the costs of the water and sewer project, which is being presented for funding tonight. The town has long awaited a MassDOT TIP roadway reconstruction project that will improve the Longmeadow L corridor of Longmeadow Street, Converse Street, Laurel Street, and Forest Glen intersections. In preparation for this project, which is coming around 2025, we have designed utility improvements for the drinking water and sewer systems that underlie these roads. The MassDOT roadway project will improve the actual roadways themselves, the drainage, pedestrian accommodations, and intersection volumes. The underlying utilities underneath these roadways put this project at risk for damage once it is completed. Many of the water mains under these roadways are more than 100 years old. The sewer system was evaluated and found to have more than 14 deficiencies. This project will renew the utilities within the project limits of the large MassDOT reconstruction project. It will install more than 10,000 feet of new water main with new services to more than 170 homes. It will increase fire flow capacity, and it will increase redundancy and emergency capacity in the connection to the regional Springfield water and sewer system. If you were able to see the screen, I have outlined the project area for both the roadway reconstruction and the general limits of the water and sewer project. They are Forest Glen, Longmeadow Street, Converse, and a portion of Laurel, as well as Llewellyn Street. These are simple renderings of what the roadway project will look like when completed. This is what we aim to protect by putting new pipes in the ground prior to the beautiful surface that will be created. While we will be physically in Converse Street, Forest Glen, Laurel, and crossing Longmeadow Street, and in the intersections, we have gone to great lengths to avoid long runs down Route 5, Longmeadow Street, and we'll put water mains in the wide sidewalk mall areas. This slide is just to represent your final product. This is a snip from our design plan, which I know you probably cannot read in detail, but it is an example of what to expect for construction through an intersection. This may be the most impactful location. This is Columbus Avenue, where it becomes Longmeadow Street, Route 5, at Western Avenue and Forest Glen Road. This is a heavily traveled intersection. I traveled through it tonight to get here. I waited in traffic. Many of you probably do the same or do it every night. We realize this. Hopefully, Those that have stayed here for the presentation realize that living through construction is a temporary condition that is unpleasant, but has long-lasting benefits. That is not lost on the Public Works Department or the design team. There will be traffic impacts associated with this project. We will be in Converse Street, in the intersection of Laurel and Converse, Forest Glen and Route 5. Because of that, we will institute detours. The exact pattern of the detours must be coordinated with public safety once the project is appropriated, if the project is appropriated. It will involve detour zones, possibly detouring Forest Glen in one direction, detour and Converse Street in the other direction, only when work is occurring on those streets. The three major intersections involved, Converse at Laurel, Converse at Longmeadow, Longmeadow at Forest Glen, will be night work. Night work is impactful to the residents that live close to these intersections, but to cross these major roadways not at night would be extremely impactful to any person traveling through Longmeadow. These are the locations of the most impacted intersections. This is the final slide. The project costs have been broken down into construction, traffic management, construction administration, inspection, and a healthy project contingency, which you have heard from other projects, 20%. This will be a 2-year project. We expect that it will kick off in March or April of 2024 and last the entire construction season until December. There will likely be a winter shutdown. We will continue construction in spring of 2025, aiming to finish in summer of 2025 ahead of the roadway project. In short, we must dig trenches in these roads to remove 100-year-old water mains and sewer mains that are failing, to repair them completely, to restore the beautiful pavement. There is nothing worse than cutting into brand new pavement. Construction costs will be spread over those 2 years. The total recommended appropriation is $10 million. I thank you for your time and your civic engagement.
Thank you. And at the yellow microphone, further discussion. I'm sorry, forgive me. Finance Committee. Erica, I'm sorry.
Finance Committee recommends Article 19.
Thank you. Now, yes, sir.
Kurt Friedman, 24 Ridge. As a registered professional engineer, although I do support this project, there's also another proposed high-pressure gas pipeline project that is just proposed. It has not been approved, and the path of that proposed pipeline could include a similar path or overlapping paths as this project as presented. Are you aware of this proposed high-pressure gas pipeline project, and how might this gas pipeline project, if approved, impact the planning and other engineering strategies for this project?
Mr. Nelson?
Thank you. I am generally aware of the high-pressure gas project, although the details reside with the Public Works Department. Our water main paths have been pretty much determined at this point. If there were a conflict at the crossing point, that is something we can accommodate. We can dive water mains deeper or shallower and insulate them and get around the gas. We deal with gas conflicts and space issues on every single water main project.
Thank you.
And
A further question?
just observation, because of this proposed project, and one thing, we don't know the particular path.
We really...
Yeah, okay. I would encourage our Board of Selectmen to try to seek out this information and encourage a decision by the Energy Facility Siting Board so that that decision does not impact our town and perhaps add additional costs to this needed project. Thank you.
Next.
Nicole Chouanier, 40 Nevins Avenue. The neighborhoods that you mentioned in your proposal, you mentioned pipe work being done under sidewalks and near the main roads. The neighborhoods that are in this proposal have a significant number of Longmeadow Public School students who bike and walk to school daily and would be continuing to do so during this project. What could we expect related to that topic?
Mr. Nelson, can you address that?
Thank you. Yes, we will the construction of the water main is linear in nature, and we will not be on both sides, especially on Long Meadow Street where we do have sidewalks on both sides. Our project will be on the western sidewalk, so that that work zone will not be accessible to pedestrians. They must cross and use the other sidewalk, and that work zone will move. And the traffic and pedestrian accommodations to detour around it will move with it.
Further follow-up?
Yeah, follow-up. So as that work moves down the road, what planning and accommodations would there be to ensure that pedestrians safely cross at various points before where they wouldn't normally cross, perhaps?
Mr. Nelson, will you be able to address that?
Thank
Mr.
you.
Nelson?
There is a significant amount of funding associated with traffic and police detailing, almost $400,000. That accounts for police presence for the duration of the project.
Thank you. Next.
Cynthia Summer, 57 Farmington Avenue. I also am concerned about what Kurt mentioned about the proposed gas pipeline project. And so let me first see if I understand this correctly. These improvements that you are talking about are being made so that a roadway improvement project can then be built over it. Is that correct? Or is it just because these things need to be replaced?
Mr. Nelson?
They need to be replaced. The water mains are over 100 years old. They have exceeded their expected useful life, and the sewer mains have noticeable defects that will eventually cause larger problems. The timing is related to the restoration improvements of the surface roads. One naturally has to come before the other. Thank you.
Correct. And is this...
Do you have a follow-up question?
Yeah, go ahead, Len.
I was just want to make a comment. But go ahead.
Oh, okay, got it. Okay.
Stuff.
I didn't know if you had an answer. I'm
No,
sorry.
I don't have an answer.
Go ahead, Ms. Summer.
And the surface road projects, are they some kind of thing that is already in the state pipeline that we know is happening at a certain time? Is that correct?
Mr. Gold?
Ms. Summers, I can answer that one. I sit on the Pioneer Valley Planning Commission. It's called the MPO, the planning organization. There is, in fact, a Department of Transportation TIP, Transportation Improvement Plan program that's will be redoing that part of Long Meadow Street. And it's now scheduled, it keeps shifting, but somewhere around 2025. But I guess that's the answer. I'll make another comment separately.
All right.
Okay, so my concern is that...
Well, is it another question?
Yeah, it's a follow-up. It's the last one.
Okay. Oh, all right. I'll allow it.
So my concern is that this gas pipeline project, people are fighting against it, but in the event that it would go through, it would then just tear up all the new roads and everything because it would be coming a few years after all of this again, and they would just tear everything up.
So that's kind of a comment about something that...
That's my question. Would that happen? Is that what the scenario is here?
Mr. Gold?
The only thing I can tell you is the town has theoretically a 5-year moratorium on tearing up newly paved roads, but I don't know the jurisdiction that Eversource and/or the State Department of Public Utilities may have to supersede that.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Next.
Hi, my name is Stephen Kennedy. I live at 11 Western Drive, directly across from Forest Glen. And my concern has to be with pedestrian crossing from Western or Forest Glen from one to the other. There is what one might consider a dedicated crosswalk because there is a button one can push at both corners. I brought this up to the attention of the former town manager years ago. That button is inoperative and has been for the 27 years that we have resided in our home. I would hope, I'm just going to say, whoever is in charge of this project, the first thing you're going to do if you're going to have people crossing from Western to Forest Glen and vice versa, safely, you've got to put in a traffic signal which stops automobile, stops truck traffic. Right now, that
Is
doesn't
this in form of
happen.
a question?
My question is, can we make certain that this is addressed prior to any interruption of pedestrian traffic?
Oh, is there a button?
Can you fix this
Is the crosswalk going to be fixed? The button?
The crosswalk will be fixed with the Long Meadow Street project, not with this water main sewer project that you're discussing right now.
Could you give me a date on that follow-up question?
Mr. Kennedy.
Could you give me a follow-up date on that project, when that crossing will be fixed?
So you have an answer for that?
I'll just tell you that the TIP program is now scheduled for 2025,
Yeah.
and it's slipped already a year,
beyond.
so
Yeah.
that's the earliest date.
Yep. Thank you.
Hi.
Yes.
Julie Morgan, 65 Longmeadow Street. I was just wondering if someone could tell us what the impact of this article, if this doesn't pass, what impact it has on the larger TIP project.
What the question is, what impact does, if we vote no on this, what impact does that have on the larger TIF project? Mr. Gold?
So the answer is they're independent projects. I just wanted to go back and comment on something Ms. Summers had asked specifically, and that is that, we try not to tear up roads. We've got 100-year-old pipelines underneath these roads. These aren't necessarily going under the road, they're going next to the roads. But the fact is that we don't have, there are sections that we've been told along Forest Glen and other areas where we have repeated failures of the pipelines, and so they're old. They're not getting old, they are old. But in fact, if there was no TIP project that was going to redo the whole road, it's unlikely we'd be coming to you for not only this, but the next warrant article is another $9 million to redo all the water and sewer lines under these roads. But it's the kind of thing that, why are we going to have the state spend tens of millions of dollars redoing the roads and then come back 6 weeks later and say, oh my goodness, the pipes were all 100 years old, didn't we know to fix them? So they're independent projects. The state really doesn't care about the water lines, and frankly, the water lines don't care about the road surface above it. So we're just trying to, with these projects, get ahead of the state so we're not digging up a brand new road.
All right.
Can I ask one more question?
Sure, I'll allow it.
I just want to make sure I understood from the presentation. Are we talking about if we do the water main project and then we do the TIP project, are we basically talking about continuous construction from like March of next year through when, I guess is the question.
Mr. Nelson, can you answer that? Or Lynn?
Yes.
But when would it
When will it all end?
Yes,
Forever?
yes, you are, but the construction moves.
So I think my question is,
Okay, quick. I mean, it sounds like we're going to be under a lot of construction if this goes through. Do you have
well, I guess I think I'm asking, I think we got the timeline for the water main construction project, but do you have an estimate on the OWL project overall? So when does all of this end?
Mr. Nelson?
The roadway improvements are expected to last 2 construction seasons as well.
What year does that put you
All
in?
right, you're at your limit.
Currently
there.
25 and 26.
Okay,
Currently.
thank you.
Oh,
Yep.
good. All right.
And we don't work on all of the roadways all at once, sections.
All right, thank you. I think we're ready to come to a vote. Vote is now open. Press 1 for yes, press 2 for no. Five seconds left. And the vote is now closed. With 126 yes and 6 no, the motion has passed by a 2/3 majority affirmative vote. Article 23.
20.
I'm sorry. Forgive me, I jumped ahead. Article 20.
Madam Moderator, I move that the town vote to authorize the treasurer to borrow the sum of $8,535,000 for the purpose of water main improvement work in the preparation for the L project. And to meet this appropriation, the treasurer, with the approval of the select board, is authorized to borrow said amount and pursuant to General Law, Chapter 44, Sections 7 and 8, or pursuant to any other enabling authority, and to issue bonds or notes of the town, and to be repaid first instance from water systems charges.
Motion has been made and seconded. You may speak to it.
Yes, the Long Meadow L project, as you've been discussing, is the $9 million Department of Transportation Improvement Program project planned to begin in 2025. In preparation for the L project, design has been put together for the water main improvements along streets of Long Meadow Street, Forest Glen Road, Converse Street, Llewellyn Street, and Laurel Street. Portions of the water main are 80 to 100 years old. Replacement and improvements of the water system on these streets will ensure the infrastructure underneath the road is prepared for the new street. The borrowing will impact the town's water rates. Interest earned on bond proceeds and excess water retained earnings will be used to offset the rate increase. And the select board, acting as water and sewer commissioners, will use this earned interest as well as water enterprise fund retained earnings in an effort to keep the water rate increase below what would otherwise be in the 6 to 7% range.
Finance Committee recommendation, please.
Finance Committee recommends Article 20.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll come directly to a vote. This requires a 2/3 vote. The vote is now open. Press 1 for yes, 2 for no. And the vote is now closed. With 127 yes and 3 no, the motion passes with a 2/3 majority affirmative vote. Article 22, Mr. Gold.
Madam Moderator, I move to approve Articles numbers 22 and 23 as printed in the warrant under a consent agenda.
Okay, so Articles 22 and 23 are moved as the consent agenda. If anyone wishes to hold them, call out hold when I call the number. 22. I heard a hold on 22, so we will consider Articles 22 and 23 separately. Mr. Gold.
Madam Moderator, I move the town vote to transfer $370,318.06 from the town's special revenue fund, Long Meadow Community TV, to the Long Meadow PEG Access, its public access and cable-related fund, as created by a vote of town meeting May 9, 2023, Article 26.
The motion's been made and seconded. You may speak to it.
Sure. The $370,318.06 is the amount collected by the town in fiscal year 2022 and fiscal year 2023 from Comcast to be used for cable-related purposes consistent with the town's 2021 to 2031 cable license franchise agreement, including but not limited to 1, support of public educational or government access cable television services, 2, monitor compliance with the cable operator with the franchise agreement, or 3, prepare for renewal of the franchise agreement. Appropriations will need to be made from the Long Meadow PEG Access and Cable-Related Fund before they can be expended. The next article will be seeking the appropriation.
Finance Committee recommendation, please.
Finance Committee recommends Article 22.
Further discussion?
Madam Moderator, can you refresh my memory? Can I ask here and then a follow-up?
Yes, and so if there's a bylaw that states that a person may not speak more than 4 times on any given question. And so if you have 4 questions, you can do 4 follow-ups, or you can ask them all in one turn.
Thank you.
Or 3 follow-ups, rather.
Tom Shea, 81 Green Meadow Drive. Yesterday, I looked at the Springfield Superior Court trial docket to see the status of the DPW litigation. It's been over a year since we've had an update. I was very surprised to see that Longmeadow Community TV filed a lawsuit against the town of Longmeadow on September 15th, 2023. I believe it's germane to this article, so stop me.
I do not think it is germane.
Okay, the taxpayers are being asked to vote on two articles.
Please hold, please hold. You may continue, Mr. Shea.
Thank you. The taxpayers are being asked to vote on two articles and deserve some transparency and answers before we do. I have 4 questions. Are the town and LCTV operating under a temporary agreement, and when does it expire? Secondly, how long has it been since there was an agreement other than temporary one, and is it true that LCTV has not been paid for an extended period, possibly 16 months? What is LCTV suing the town of Longmeadow for, and why? And what are the disputes that the town and LCTV have not been able to come to terms on? Termination rights, security maybe. I don't know who's going to answer this.
I'm going to ask town council to address this question.
Thank you.
Unless, actually, are you prepared? All right.
Can we do it together?
Sure. All right, I'll tag team.
Yeah, I can answer some of that.
I'll ask you to stay there. This is Lynn Simmons and town council Jay Tellerman. Welcome him. This is his first Longmeadow town meeting. All right, who wants to speak first?
I can remind me of your first question.
Okay, I've got it as are the town and LCTV under a temporary agreement?
Yes, we have a temporary agreement. I believe it's 6 months and it expires the end of June.
And how long other than temporary have you been operating in this way? How long?
There's never been an agreement.
Never. And is it true that there's an extended period? Is that accurate, Mr. Shea?
How long has it been since LCTV was paid?
The exact time frame I'm not entirely clear on at the moment, but there have been several months that there has been no payment. We do not have a mechanism to issue a payment.
And I'm in agreement that we shouldn't pay
and then
unless we have an agreement.
what's the suit for?
That I can't speak to. I don't have it.
Mr. Tellerman?
Good evening. The suit, which was never served and is per the agreement is to be dismissed, but it's never been served and won't be served per the agreement, was for payment. And we took the position after we became town council that the suit had no merit, and we were prepared to dismiss it, but we reached agreement with LCTV rendering the suit moot, and now we're moving forward from there.
And what are the disputes? Or
In
am
the
I hearing
suit,
that there are no?
they wanted to be paid.
Okay.
And these articles provide the funding pursuant to the agreement.
All right. And Mr. Shea?
So as of this morning, the suit has not been withdrawn. And what is the dispute that's been ongoing for a year or 18 months? What is in dispute?
Well, we are
Mr.
working, and I can't speak to the exact terms of it, but there's been an effort to actually bring this in kind of out of the forest, so to speak, so that we have a complying agreement that's consistent with typical terms that municipalities agree to with outside vendors or nonprofits for this, and we're following typical forms. In fact, the temporary agreement that we've executed with them has most of the salient terms that will ultimately form the basis of more of a longer-term agreement, which would be a 5-year agreement, I believe, pursuant to the local bylaw.
Mr. Shea?
A follow-up, please. So based upon what you've said, you've coalesced various documents, Franklin, Wilbraham, Amherst, whomever, looked at what is standard in the state of Massachusetts, and you're hopefully moving forward with that. You know, this has gone on for a long time. It's taking up the time of the town manager or the select board, and we, the taxpayers, are paying additional legal fees.
Do you have
I'd
a
like to
question?
get this resolved.
Any further questions? No?
I'm good.
All right.
I'm going
Thank
to move
you.
over to the left.
At the yellow microphone?
Hello, Graham Jesmer, Homestead Boulevard. I'd like to ask a question about the purported expenses discussed in the warrant, specifically the expense related to the oversight of the cable franchise. I'd like to understand what those expenses are and whether the Cable Advisory Committee actually intends to meet ever again. They have not met in over 2 years. Thank you.
All right, so the questions are about the costs in this article and about the Cable Advisory Committee. Ms. Simmons?
Regarding the Cable Advisory Committee, I don't believe we actually have enough members of that committee at the current time for them to actually meet. And then in terms of oversight, I'm just trying to find that language in the explanation here. I'm not clear on your question related to oversight.
What are the costs? So in this article, there's $370,000 to transfer. What does that cover?
Would it, go for it. It's not clear.
Mr. Gold?
I think I can answer the question. I'm going to go back a little bit. Comcast is a cable provider to the town of Longmeadow. There's an agreement between the town of Longmeadow and Comcast to provide a fee to the town of Longmeadow for the rights to serve our residents. That fee and what this agreement is how we convey that fee to LCTV for the purposes of them being able to provide local access television. And so what you see here is the funds that Comcast has conveyed to the town of Longmeadow. Now, in terms of our Cable Advisory Committee, the Cable Advisory Committee, pardon me for the people who may have been on the Cable Advisory Committee, their purpose is generally to monitor and then renegotiate a contract with Comcast. We are in the second year, I believe, of a 10-year contract. There's not a whole lot of negotiation going on. In fact, it's not very much of a negotiation to begin with. It's more or less of an agreement. And so the fact is that the Cable Advisory Committee is not meeting. As far as I know, there are no expenses related specifically to the Cable Advisory Committee, nor do they submit expenses for repayment by the town. What you've got here is simply, subscribers' fees that went to Comcast that the town is holding and is looking to transfer into a fund to make available for LCTV.
Thank you. A further question?
Yeah, I'm going to ask a clarification. This article says that some of these expenses will go towards, quote, monitoring the compliance of the cable operator with the franchise agreement and preparing for renewal of the franchise agreement. I'm hearing here that none of this money will in fact be going for those purposes. Is that correct?
Ms. Simmons?
So now I understand what you're asking. Thank you. So the Comcast funds that are paid to the town can be used for those purposes. So yes, funds of this PEG access cable-related payment can be used by the Cable Advisory Board if needed to monitor the Comcast agreement. There needs to be an annual public hearing that the Cable Advisory Board holds. These funds could be used to pay for those public hearing notices or schedule someone to record the meeting if we needed some outside recording, or any sort of thing that the Cable Advisory Board needed to help support their monitoring of the agreement. But the language in this warrant explanation is directly from the statute that explains how cable license franchise agreement funds can be used.
At the yellow mic?
My name is Steve Wallman. I live on Pinewood Drive, and I had been a member of the previous Cable Advisory Committee, and I can tell you that from 1994 up to the time that members began to resign, from the Cable Advisory Committee. It costs the town nothing to monitor the franchise agreement because the Cable Advisory Committee met every 3 months with representatives from Comcast to review how Comcast was complying with the franchise agreement. One would assume that when there are members of the Cable Advisory Committee in the future, they would do the same.
Do you have a question?
No, I was just commenting about the...
All right. The reason I asked is you were at the yellow microphone.
Well, I was responding to the previous
Thank you.
person about what it would cost, and the answer is zero.
At the green microphone?
Tom Shea, 81 Green Meadow Drive. Thank you for the previous clarification of somewhat complicated issue. I suggest we vote in favor of this. We've got 3 employees that need to get paid, and like to move this along. Thank you.
Looks like we're ready to vote. The vote is now open. Press 1 for yes, press 2 for no. 20 seconds. Bless you. 5 seconds left. And the vote is now closed. 104 yes, 4 no. The motion passes by a majority affirmative vote. Article 23. Article 23, Mr. Gold.
Madam Moderator, I move the town vote to appropriate the sum of $449,778.14 from the Long Meadow PEG Access and Cable Related Fund for the purposes outlined in the explanation of the previous article.
Motion's been made and seconded. Can we speak to it?
With the acceptance of Mass General Law, Chapter 44, Section 53, F3/4 by vote of Article 26, the May 9, 2023 annual town meeting, incoming revenue related to the town's cable license franchise agreement will be deposited in this account and can only be expended by vote of town meeting authorizing such. This appropriation will be used in accordance with the statute and the town's 2021 to 2031 cable license franchise agreement. For fiscal year 2024, $79,460.08 has been received and is added to the prior warrant article amount to total the appropriation in this article.
Finance Committee recommendation, please.
Finance Committee recommends Article 23.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll come directly to a vote. Vote is now open. Press 1 for yes, press 2 for no. Five seconds left. The vote is now closed with 104 yes, 5 no. The motion passes with a simple majority affirmative vote. Article 25. Article 25, Mr. Gold.
Madam Moderator, this is Article 24, isn't it? We did that already?
I'm sorry.
Okay, sorry. Article 25. Madam Moderator, I move that the town vote to raise and appropriate $183,600 from the fiscal year 2024 Community Preservation Fund revenues for CPA Fund Balance Reserve, for open space $61,200, CPA Fund Balance Reserve for community housing $61,200, and CPA Fund Balance Reserve for historic preservation $61,200.
Motion's been made and seconded. You may speak to it.
The Community Preservation Act of Massachusetts, General Law, Chapter 40B, requires town meeting to appropriate or reserve for future appropriation at least 10% of the estimated annual CPA revenue for acquisition and initiatives for each of the following 3 categories: open space, community housing, and historic preservation. Approval of this article will satisfy the requirement for fiscal year 2024. Currently, the FY24 state matching share is estimated at 20% of the estimated surcharge, or $95,000. Other fiscal year 2024 estimated revenues are surcharge $475,000 and other miscellaneous revenues $42,000.
Finance Committee recommendation, please.
Finance Committee recommends Article 25.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll come directly to a vote. This requires a simple majority. The vote is now open. Press 1 for yes, press 2 for no. Five seconds left. The vote is now closed. With 102 yes, 2 no, the motion passes with a majority affirmative vote. Article 26, Mr. Zwerko.
Madam Moderator, I move that the town vote to amend the zoning bylaw, section 315-4, definitions off-site medical marijuana dispensary and registered marijuana dispensary as written in the warrant article.
Motion's been made and seconded. You may speak to it. You may speak to it.
Two-thirds vote is required. The town zoning code defines an OMMD and RMD as not-for-profit entities. This conflicts with the current version of the Cannabis Control Commission's CCC Regulations 935 CMR 501.002, which no longer require a medical marijuana treatment center, MTC, to be a not-for-profit entity. Towns are preempted from adopting bylaws that impose different requirements on MTCs or marijuana establishments than those requirements imposed by the CCC.
Planning Board recommendation, please.
The Planning Board recommends Article 26.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll come directly to a vote. This requires a 2/3 vote. The vote is now open. Press 1 for yes, press 2 for no. Five seconds left. And the vote is now closed. With 92 yes, 8 no, it passes by a 2/3 majority affirmative vote. Article 27.
Madam Moderator, I move that the town vote to amend the zoning bylaw, section 315-45, site and design review procedure as written in the warrant article.
Motion's been made and seconded. You may speak to it.
A 2/3 vote is required. Application filing procedures are described in both the Planning Board rules and regulations 326 of the Code of the Town of Long Meadow, and in the zoning bylaw site and design review section describing filing procedures in both locations. Let me take one step back. Describing filing procedures in both locations is duplicative and unnecessary and increases the chances of conflicting code. One section be updated and the other accidentally overlooked. This proposed amendment to the zoning bylaw will delete detailed filing instructions and refer applicants to the Planning Board rules and regulations for up-to-date information. The proposed revisions do not affect the overall standard of site and design review.
Planning Board recommendation.
The Planning Board recommends Article 27.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll come directly to a vote. This requires a 2/3 majority. The vote is now open. And the vote is now closed. With 98 yes, 1 no, the motion passes by a 2/3 majority affirmative vote. Article 28.
Madam Moderator, I move that the town vote to amend the general bylaw, section 127-17, dogs as nuisance as written in the warrant article.
You may speak to it.
To limit delay in investigating a dog as nuisance complaint, the Select Board will develop a policy to authorize the Select Board Administrative Assistant to provide a copy of the complaint to the Animal Control Officer to begin an investigation prior to the matter coming before the Select Board.
Discussion? Yes.
Tom McDonald, 123 Lawnwood Ave. Can somebody explain to me what exactly this law is and what we're amending?
Sure. Town Manager?
Without this amendment, the way it currently stands right now is if a complaint is received by the Select Board's office, it needs to wait until a Select Board meeting in order for the board to refer it to the Animal Control Officer. Over the summer, when the board had some complaints come in, this came up and they decided that they'd like to put forward an amendment so that we wouldn't wait, that there would be no delay. When a complaint is received, it's referred immediately to the Animal Control Officer. This was reviewed by prior town council, and they made the suggestion that in order for the board administrative assistant to have authority to do that, there should be a policy set out to state that that was the practice.
Does that address your question?
No, that's it.
Thank you. Next.
Kurt Friedman, Ridge Road. So this policy, is this decided by the Board of Selectmen or the Animal Control Officer?
Does the select board want to address that, or they're deferring to?
Also, as a linking question.
You have another question? Yep. Go ahead.
How does the town define a nuisance? When is a dog considered a nuisance?
Thank you.
So nuisance dog is defined in Mass General Law, and that's the definition that the board would adhere to. And then the policy would be developed by the Select Board and adopted by the Select Board, incorporated into the Select Board town manager policy book that's available online.
Thank you. Any further discussion?
Just one more question.
Mm-hmm.
If the dog is barking at 5:30 in the morning for 20 minutes, is that considered a nuisance?
That's a good question. Let's see. Ms. Simmons.
There's a lot of variables for that. It would be investigated by the Animal Control Officer.
And that would be something that's discussed. Are we ready to vote? Okay. The vote is now open. 1 for yes, 2 for no. Five seconds left. And the vote is now closed. With 91 yes, 8 no, it passes by a majority affirmative vote. 29.
I move that the town vote to amend the general bylaw section 127-20, dogs on athletic fields, as written in the warrant article.
You may speak to it.
This bylaw amendment clarifies that service animals would be allowed and changes the jurisdiction of the athletic fields from the school committee to the town of Long Meadow to accurately reflect the jurisdiction of all town athletic facilities.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll come directly to a vote. The vote is now open. This requires a simple majority. And 5 seconds left. And the vote is now closed. With 93 yes, 9 no, the motion passes by a majority affirmative vote. Article 30.
I move that the town vote to authorize the select board to initiate the process of seeking to aggregate electrical load through a community choice aggregation program, CCA, and contract for Long Meadow residents as authorized by Mass General Law, Part 1, Title 22, Chapter 164, Section 134, and through CCA give consideration to pursuing a percentage of Class 1 designated renewable energy that is greater than that required by Massachusetts Renewable Portfolio Standard, RPS.
Motion's been made and seconded. You may speak to it.
The warrant article was prepared and submitted by the Long Meadow Energy and Sustainable Committee. It represents the first of many required steps in developing a municipal aggregation plan with consultation by the Department of Energy Resources and final approval by the Massachusetts Department of Public Utilities, DPU. The adoption of this warrant article does not obligate the town or its residents to develop or approve a municipal aggregation plan. After initiating the process, a consultant will put together a plan and electricity supply aggregation agreement for the town's review. This will all be posted on the town's website for public comment, and the select board will review the plan in public meeting.
Further discussion at the Green Mic.
Kurt Friedman, Ridge Road, 24 Ridge Road. As a registered professional engineer, certified energy manager, certified energy auditor, lead accredited professional, and professor of energy conservation and alternative energy at Western New England University for 20 years, I strongly support this proposal. Last winter, we experienced electricity rates which were more expensive than we've ever experienced in our entire history. And this winter, we're expecting more of the same. The price of electricity has gotten so high that the cost of operating heat pumps, electric vehicles, is cost prohibitive. This is not where we should be. If we're going to support a message of sustainability and using proper technology and equipment, we need to somehow bring down our electricity prices so we can all as a community mutually benefit. Please vote yes on this proposal. Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
Brad Lukasik, 38 Crescent Road. Just would like to know what this aggregate means and how does it affect our prices as far as electricity and reliability?
Okay, what it means and how it will work. Mr. Gold.
Thank you for the question. Reliability is going to be what it is now. Municipal aggregation is a process by which the municipalities can purchase or sign a power purchase agreement on behalf of any residents who express an interest in being represented. Right now, we all get in the mail, buy your electricity from me, buy your electricity from me. You know, the Commonwealth and Department of Public Utilities authorizes third parties to supply you electricity. They buy the electricity. They don't deliver it. So Eversource will always deliver your electricity, but other people can buy it. Right now, by law, and as Mr. Friedman indicated, Eversource is required by law to renegotiate their purchase price for electricity every 6 months. So it generally goes up and then down and up and down and every 6 months. A municipal power purchase agreement, a municipal aggregation, would allow the community to enter into a power purchase agreement that could be for as long as 5 years. Communities that have done that, and I can express one community that I spoke to who did that before the Russian invasion of Ukraine, they sat there and said, we had a fixed price, nothing mattered. So as somebody on the select board indicated, this request is literally checking the first of many boxes to move forward. It requires the town to approve an investigation and a study. It obligates the town to nothing. It obligates the residents to nothing. But without it, the town could not move forward with the potential of looking at municipal power purchase on behalf of its residents.
Thank you. Looks like we're ready to come to a vote. The vote is now open. Press 1 for yes, press 2 for no. And the vote is now closed with 94 yes, 2 no. The motion passes with a majority affirmative vote. I have heard a motion to dissolve the special town meeting of 2023. Is there a second? I don't see anybody waiting to discuss this, so we'll raise your hands. All those in favor, raise your hands. All those opposed, raise your hands. The motion passes, unanimous affirmative vote. Thank you. This concludes the 2023 special town meeting. Thank you very much. Have a good night.